Hey, welcome back to the Earn by Experience podcast, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Ben Browse. This week I had a friend on the podcast. I actually met him as a customer here at the powder shop and had some interesting conversations with him. He actually took a liking to some of the bikes that I had sitting around the shop, and we had a pretty interesting conversation, so I thought maybe he'd be a good guest. So hope you guys enjoy him. His name is Rich Hutchins. He's an active member of our community too. Had a good time hanging out, getting to know him a little bit more, so look forward to airing this one. I'm actually really excited too because he's actually putting together a hardtop for a Jeep truck that I'm working on my personal side. So I hope you guys get to see that and enjoy the episode. I want to say thanks for tuning in each week and supporting the podcast. So just want to say thanks, and we'll see you next week. Well, Rich, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming in and hanging out.
I appreciate it.
Dude, I'm glad to have you here. I was thinking about it this morning. I'm like, man, it's so cool that we met so organically. And you were like an undercover badass, dude. Showed up here with your dirt bike in your van.
Right.
You're like, dude, we powder coat, whatever it was. And then next thing you know, I'm like, I think I had some old bikes laying around.
Yeah. It seemed like every time I come in here, you got some old BMX bikes laying around.
Yeah, customer stuff, man.
Yeah.
That was cool. And then you told me that you were like the son of the original Hutch owner. I guess his name is Rich too.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm a junior. He was a senior. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So, I guess you care to take us back to like kind of that beginning and then kind of see where we're up to now.
Well, yeah. I mean, our whole background started originally in motocross.
Okay.
So, I mean, back then, I was riding 80s. And I'm still riding today. You know what I mean? So it's like the motorcycle side of things never got out of my blood. And back then, we were, racing with some local organizations, and my parents and a bunch of local parents all decided to, because nothing was catered back then to kids. It was all about mostly the bigger bikes and the bigger people that were into motocross. So they all actually started an organization that's still around today. I think they just had their 50th year anniversary. So my parents were part of the original start of that organization. And while we were in that organization, during intermissions, like during between motos, when they would go from a first moto to a second moto in motocross, they would do track prep. Well, during those track prep times, the motocross tracks actually ended up start building BMX tracks, because that was a big thing back in the, early. I mean, we're talking like 79,
Wow.
Before even Hutch was around. And we would race the BMX races during the intermission of the motocross race.
That's cool.
Well, my dad, he was big into the parts guy that was at the racetrack. So we had a vendor trailer set up where he would sell all the motocross parts. If you needed anything, he had it. And then once the BMX thing started coming along, then my dad realized that this was a whole big, this is a new market.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then he started stocking BMX parts, because now everybody's buying the BMX bikes. Everybody wants to start doing it during the intermissions. And after about a year of that, because by then I had an MCS, I had a PK Ripper, I believe I had a Powerlight, if I'm not mistaken. And so I was riding like a bunch of different bikes.
Okay.
And I knew what I liked about certain bikes and things I didn't like. And I remember one year sitting down and drawing on a piece of paperwork and taking measurements off my bike and changing things, because I was always about, back then it was, I was like just getting ready to go into high school. So I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just drew something up on a piece of paperwork. Like I knew, because of motocross helping me with the background on how I knew I liked bikes to steer and how I liked them to handle in the air. And then now I'm riding BMX bikes, and I'm like, okay, this bike didn't steer right. This bike didn't jump right. Certain things didn't feel right. So then I started taking things that I liked about certain bikes and things I didn't like and separating the bad stuff out with the good stuff. And I just happened to draw up on a piece of paper I don't know, at the end of a motocross season, I was just in the living room drawing this up. Well, my dad, after I went to bed, must have grabbed this piece of paper and then found someone to build a bike for
No
us.
kidding.
And that year, he gave me for a Christmas present, like I guess you would say, the first Hutch bike.
No way. That's freaking rad.
And then
When you were looking at this as a kid, because you were probably, what, 13, 12, 13, somewhere in there? 14?
13 was the first year that I think I got that bike for my 13th birthday.
Okay.
For 13 Christmas.
Dude, that's so badass. Was it more visual things that you were looking at, or was it like you could see the geometry of the frames? Like, was it when you were putting it together? Do you remember like what you were looking at?
I don't think it was so much visual for me. It was the feel.
Okay.
Because I was all about how things felt when you wrote it, what didn't feel right. You know what I mean? Like even back then, this is like in the first few years that even, because I was at the time, because Kawasaki didn't even have KX bikes yet. And I was riding a YZ80, because they weren't 85s back then, they were 80s.
Uh-huh.
So I was riding a YZ80. I think my brother, he was on a Taljet, which was a bike from Italy that was a 60.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, it was something that was big back then. And then he was riding that, and I was riding the Yamaha 80. And then as Kawasaki came along, we had another friend of ours. Their family was big into. They had a Kawasaki shop in Owings, Maryland. I think it was Owings, Maryland, somewhere down southern Maryland. And their family was one of the originators for motocross also. And so we were anxious to switch to Kawasaki and KX. And just going from that change from Yamaha to Kawasaki and the different feels. And then my dad was big into modifying stuff. Like my 80 ended up being one of the, if you see some of the old pictures of the YZ80s that ended up becoming DG bikes with the gold swing arms and the gold heads. Well, my bike had all that.
Really?
And knowing what those changes were and how it made it feel, and then just different handlebar, you know what I mean? Like everything you ride and you start to feel. So for me, it was all about feel and knowing what I liked and what I wanted, how things steered or how things jumped. It wasn't front end heavy or, front end light or, you know what I mean? Like in just different situations.
That's so nuts. When I look at the bikes, I'm equating it to bikes. I ride a dirt bike. You see that Kawasaki, but when I'm riding it, I'm not like thinking about the handling and things so much. I'm just like, it is what it is. It's just the nature of the beast. But when I look at how the things put together, like the chassis designs, I know it's for a reason. I can't equate it to like anything. Like a race car, you can kind of see like why maybe some things are like that. But I don't know. I guess I just don't have the knack to look and see what it might affect or change.
Right.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. So that was how the first frame was, because it was only a frame back then, and then my dad got big into, because magazines were big back then. There was none of this cell phone stuff or internet or nothing back in these days. Like it was all magazines. So he did the mail order thing on the magazines. And then, of course, once I show up at the motocross track with a bike like that, then everybody started riding it. Then everybody wanted it. So then my dad just started making them for the locals and then realized this is something.
That's so freaking cool. It's just an organic start, just out of the back of a vendor trailer.
Yep.
That's so freaking rad.
Yep.
Yeah.
And who would have thought it'd grow into what it did, I mean, even till, all up to the date that we sold Hutch and got rid of Hutch, you know what I mean? Who would have ever thought from that time to now that it's still doing what it's doing?
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Yeah. I think is it still around today? Like somebody I don't know what you call it, like not reinvented it, but like brought it back.
Well, they're making them, but I don't think they're making them to our specs, from what I understand and from what I know and from people that I've talked to, that the bikes are different now. They're not the same. Like the geometries are different, and I don't know why. I mean, because my understanding is when they sold Hutch, they sold all the rights to Hutch too. So I'm not exactly sure what changed or from who we sold it to, whether he sold it to someone else and kept the rights or where it went from there. But, someone bought the name.
Gotcha.
And then someone started remaking and remanufacturing, but not to the specs that I think ours were.
Yeah, it's so crazy to be part of that at such a young age too. Like riding this wicked bike that everyone wants.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you've helped my appreciation grow for BMX bikes. I know most of the stuff. I used to just bring them. My only exposure to this stuff is like customers bringing them in, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll put color on it, But I had no appreciation for them, other than when you had brought. I think I had one or two, and then another couple collectors found me and started having me do their bikes, and that's when I realized I'm a '90s kid, so it wasn't as say in the 90s, late '90s and early 2000s, it wasn't as popular. I don't think. I mean, I guess it was like the X Games were pretty popular, but for I guess maybe my region, it wasn't like something I got exposed to.
Right.
But I really got the appreciation for how much the bikes mean and what it's these days are like collector items, from those days. So I don't know. I just think it's super interesting. And I never even knew about Hutch until the local bike shop guy he actually brought me one.
Right.
And he was telling me all about it. And next thing you know, you're talking about it. So it's crazy. So did they manufacture them here in Maryland?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning they weren't. They were actually the start of Hutch, where they were starting to be manufactured, was in Florida actually.
Okay.
And then they were sending the raw materials up to us, and then we were responsible for chrome plating, because that's all we did back in the early years was strictly chrome paint. We weren't colors in the very beginning. It was everything was about chrome in the beginning, because no one was really doing an all chrome bike. Everything back then, in the early 80s, everything had color. Like no one had figured out the chrome thing. And here's the other thing is no one was doing anything. Everything was anodized. Even the aluminum stuff was all anodized in a color. No matter what bike you bought, there was nothing in chrome. Well, somehow I stumbled onto just messing with chemicals, how to strip anodizing off of aluminum.
Okay.
So I started, or my dad actually started, after he seen me do it, he started buying like all of the rims and the hubs and stems and seat clamps and anything that was in aluminum or anodized, having me strip it. And then I had like these polishing machines in our garage of our house, because that's where it all started. And then I started polishing everything. So we were literally probably one of the first companies to do an all chrome or an all polished bike, or however you want to call it nowadays, because now everything's chrome plated, but back then it wasn't. Everything was anodized. The only thing that was chrome was the frames.
That's awesome. And you guys sent them out to do, or did you guys do that in house?
I did it all in house.
No kidding.
In the driveway, I'd lay everything out, like all the rims and all the hubs and all the stuff. I would lay it out in the driveway at the house, spray it with all these chemicals, strip everything, wash everything down, and then polish it myself.
Okay.
Me and a good friend of mine from high school, me and him would come home every day from high school, and that's what we did, was polish everything. And then we would lace our own wheels. We would build all of our own stuff, put it all back together, and then that's how we sold everything.
Wow.
Because back then, bike shops didn't even want to lace their own wheels.
Yeah.
And that was, they wanted to buy everything complete.
It's hard to even find one today that'll lace a wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. So it wasn't so much like the chroming process of like the nickel and the chrome like dipping. It was a polishing process.
Yeah, we did it with compounds and polishing wheels. And
that's awesome. So were the frames steel?
Frames were chromoly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the funny thing was with our bikes, because people always wondered how our chrome jobs looks so good. It's because everything was hand polished prior to even being cut and welded and assembled.
No kidding.
And then it went to chrome plating, and then our frames were nickeled first and then chromed. Okay. But because of the process of actually us polishing the raw tubing materials prior, is how we got our chrome jobs so smooth and so nice.
That makes sense.
So, and that was one of the things that Hutch was known for. Everything was literally in-house touched. It wasn't robotic back then. Nothing. Well, everything had its hands on it 10 times prior to it even being welded together.
That's awesome.
To go for plating or whatever.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome, man. I think about that all the time when you get something in the mail and you're looking at it, like how many times it's been touched before they like wiped it all down and like got it fingerprintless and then put it in the box and packaged it and shipped it to you.
Yeah,
I think it's so cool what goes into craftsmanship of something before you even touch it.
Yeah.
So many products are like that. It could be anything. But
Well, nowadays it feels like it doesn't even have a fingerprint on it before you see it anyway, because it's all robotic,
yeah,
even packaged.
I imagine that.
Yeah,
That's awesome. It was all hand done.
yeah.
What was it like being like in the like I don't know, I just picture like a shop like this, like fab, like jigs and like benders and stuff to like make these things. Is that kind of what it
your
was like?
shop. Just when we moved out of our basement into our first shop, your shop looks very similar.
Really?
Real similar to the way our shop was done, except for it had a separate building, not necessarily a separate building, but a separate area that was all the offices where all the stuff was done in the offices. But the actual shop where everybody worked was very similar to this, and it was tight.
I imagine.
So we had at that point, because we couldn't fit enough people in the shop working a day. We actually went to a full daytime crew and a nighttime crew.
No kidding.
So our shop ran 24/7, or not 24/7, but 24 hours in a week time frame, in building stuff.
Cranking those suckers out.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how many you guys ended up making overall, like from the span of like start to when you sold?
What do you mean?
Like as far as like the like bikes, like like numbers of production, like 20,000, 40,000, 100,000. Like any idea, just as a rough number, how many's out there?
I have no idea, but I do know that towards the end of Hutch, or I shouldn't say even towards the end, but our last maybe 2 years, year and a half to 2 years of being in business, we had over 100 welders welding.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we had 100 welders welding. We had we were using Alexandria powder coat at the time for doing all of our powder coating. We had tractor trailers literally of the finished frames going to powder coat. We used a chroming place in I want to say it was Arbutus or somewhere right like around that area in Baltimore that was doing all of our chrome plating, and then there was another tractor trailer that was taking frames every day.
Wow.
Going to these places to get done. So when this stuff was coming back to us, it was literally getting boxed and sent. At one point in time, we had 5 tractor trailer bays out there, and UPS would drop off 5 tractor trailers every morning, and they would pick up 5 tractor trailers that were filled completely to the back by the end of the day, every day.
That's insane. So there's a bunch of these things out there.
It was insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool that you're part of that. As like the son of the guy that's making it happen, and actually a big part of it with helping design it and stuff is what I understand.
Well, it's in the early days I was doing a lot of that, and then I would have ideas, and I would take ideas of my own, and then I would start making things and having other people in the shop help me make things, because then we just had a staff that was, and I'm not an engineer. I would just have an idea, and I would have an idea of how I knew something should work. And my way of doing things wasn't like today where you can test it online or you can test it on computers before going to production with it. No, it was like I would make it, test it, and 99 times out of 100, it would break or not work. You know what I mean? So it would be, till you made one that actually worked, and then you kind of liked it. And then you would test it on our own team riders. Like then they would try it and test it and decide whether they liked it or not. And then if it did make it past that stage at that point, then it would go into production.
That's crazy.
So it was always just a lot of testing, a lot of breaking, a lot of things that didn't work.
Of course.
So it was, I was kind of old school. I just have a wild idea. It was like, well, what if we did this? Mm-hmm. And then we finally ended up getting an actual engineer into Hutch that came, several years later into Hutch. And he was actually phenomenal. That guy, like anything I would say, it was like, well, what if we did this? Yeah, we'll try it. Like, really? And he would go in and put it on paper. And then by that time, we had like all the big computer CNC machines and the milling machines and the lathes that were all computer. And he would do all the CADs and then mill it out. Here, try it. Wow. And then give me one and try it. And then we'd, try it and see what would happen.
That's awesome.
But
yeah, I imagine if everything went perfectly, nothing would ever be like. It drives like the next thing,
Yeah.
Like if the failures is when usually something really good happens, because it takes all that to like get what you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you guys were shipping these things, was it like some of the other companies that ship just the bare frames and parts, and then the person would assemble it, or the bicycle shop would. Because I feel like this is like there's like there's levels to this type of thing, which I didn't realize. There was like professional bikes, and then you have like what I was exposed to was like a Walmart bike. It's already pre-assembled and from China or something.
Right.
So the quality is way less.
Right.
So how did were they fully assembled bikes, and how
Most
that
of
work?
our stuff that was built for racing or the freestyle industry in the very beginning, when we first came out, the Trick Stars, and we had the pro racers, and then we had the judges and the Hollywoods. Most of them were not assembled at all, unless it was some kind of special deal with a bike dealership that bought a lot from us or did a lot with us. We would do some in-house custom building for some of them, but the majority of that stuff was always sent out individually boxed, and then it was up to those dealerships to build them the way they wanted to, the way their customers want. Because remember back then it was like you could buy so many. You can even take a Hutch frame and you could put a GT fork on it or a GT handlebar. Like most of the kids that came into these stores that were building these custom bikes, it wasn't mainly just all Hutch. You know what I mean? It was like, no, I like this from that bike. They were mixing and matching together back then too. It wasn't until Hutch went overseas and we started bringing in some of the Japanese stuff. And even when we were bringing in the Japanese product, we had very, very high standards for them to manufacture to our specs. Like it wasn't just, oh yeah, that looks, or had them manufacture it and had them do it to what we wanted. No, we sent all of the specs over to them, and then they would have to build to our specs, our colors, our specs, whatever we had that we wanted to do, they did. And then those bikes would come in assembled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I was realizing with when I did a couple custom bikes. I realized that some of these are assembled with different parts and all over the place, like different handlebars and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how that worked. So if you find a Hutch bike laying around somewhere, it could be a mix of parts, or it could be a fully assembled full Hutch at some point. That was probably later in the years.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if it was a full blown one of the USA made product bikes, they were sold. Nothing was together at that point. You know what I mean? It was always. But I do know a lot of the bike shops, even the bigger bike shops, they were always building the Hutches to everything Hutch.
Okay, so they were.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
But then again, that was up to the bike shop to build to the colors, because then they would change color schemes or do whatever. But they were, most of the time, they were building all Hutch, because back then there was quite a few. I mean, there's, like for here in Maryland, in particular, it was Rockville BMX at one point in time. They were like the largest in the country as far as a bike shop went. And we did a lot of custom stuff for them, even that wasn't even sold to any other bike shop. Like they had certain specs that they wanted, and my dad always catered to them because they did so much business with us. So any of the bigger shops like that, my dad always, a lot of those bigger sales like that, my dad always took to himself. You know what I mean? Like instead of one of the girls that were in the sales office that was taking the orders or soliciting dealers to buy stuff, because that's what their jobs were to do. But any of these bigger ones that were placing multi-$1,000 orders, then my dad tended to cater to them a little bit.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did it have, being a Maryland company, have anything to do with it? Because I imagine this was worldwide, all over the place.
No, Rockville just did their shit right. You know what I mean? Like they used to do all the freestyle events in their parking lot. And it wasn't just Hutch. I mean, they would bring in GT and Haro, and it wasn't, their sales weren't just Hutch. Like they were mass selling just about every manufacturer was out there, and they were big in mail order. You know what I mean? So again, this is before computers and before phones, so everything was done with a magazine, and they would have a 4-page ad, four full-page ads in all the BMX magazines. That's to awesome. Do mail order too. So they were very, very heavy in the mail order. So, and there was a couple across the country that did that.
Wow.
That, my dad always took under his wing and took care of them.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine, man. It's got to be pretty wild to be in that boom. Like, I feel like it was a I don't know if it was is a boom or not, but it just seems like it was so much more popular back then. But at the same time, I also feel like since it's just what you seek, though. Like if you're into archery, you're gonna go find it. You know, it's like I'm not really into BMX. Even though I have a couple that are cool, but I guess it's probably still thriving just as much as it used to. What do you think, or no?
I was more on the BMX side of things than freestyle. My dad, of course, loved the freestyle end of it, and my dad was always the one who handled all the BMX race teams in the very beginning. And then once freestyle came out, of course, then it became too much for him to pay attention to both. So he made his swing to the freestyle side of things and kind of catered to that freestyle side of things. And then that's kind of when I started to maneuver into the BMX side of things because that was my background. I mean, that was what I like to do.
So BMX is more of like the pump track style, like racing these things, right?
Yeah, nowadays it's the pump tracks and stuff like that. It was never called any of that back in our day. You know, it was BMX. I mean, today these tracks are kind of cool. They're kind of, I mean, they're way different than what they were back then.
Yeah. What's the difference? Well, paint me a picture. I don't really know. I just see what like the internet shows me. I've never been to a BMX event,
Right.
but I just put together what you were saying was freestyle. It's more of like the pegs and doing the grinding
Yes.
and the half pipes and quarter pipes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that was what I was, I guess, in my own head equating BMX to. But realistically, I just realized that BMX is more of the racing than freestyle.
Yeah. So freestyle was the freestyle side of things, which was the half pipes and the ramps, and then the you know the ground tricks and stuff like that was that. And then that became the whole showman side of the whole new movement of back then in BMX. So, and my dad was a showman, so that's why he gravitated to that.
Did he ride?
No.
Okay, he just liked it.
Matter of fact, he did try one time. He went to one of our local tracks, and his first time out on a track, he threw the chain and broke his collarbone. And he was like, "Yeah, no, I'm just better off behind the scenes." So,
oh, that's a bummer.
but yeah, but then I maneuvered into the BMX side of things, and I still kept running that side of things, and doing and managing the race team and doing the race thing, which was here I'm by this time I'm like 18 or 19 years old, 20 I think maybe was. I was right around that age time frame when I took over doing the whole BMX side of things, and then decided to revamp. I rechanged all the uniforms to a different uniform for the riders, and then brought in a whole new race team, and then because by then things started. Our normal riders that we had on our team, I guess, realized that my dad wasn't paying so much attention to it. So then they were finding better deals and maneuvering to other teams and stuff like that. So for the Hutch race team, it kind of went, I wouldn't say downhill, but it just went south. Like we didn't have the group of riders. We had maybe 2 or 3 great riders, but we didn't have that dozen great riders, which is what we used to have. You know, we had a rider in every age group that was winning and doing what they needed to do. And then it got down to just a couple. And then that's when it was like, okay, we're missing this. I offered to step in and start doing some things and helping to do that side of things. And then, so then I started managing a race team and brought some more riders in and started doing things and bringing things back up again. And then that's when we started experimenting with started experimenting more heavily with different things again too, even different colors and things like that. Once I got involved in things on that side again.
That's awesome. What all goes into? I mean, other than like endurance and strength, what are you looking for on the racing side of it? Like, is it just?
I guess it's just like any other kind of big sport you see out there nowadays, like even NASCAR and Supercross and motocross and all that stuff. I mean, the riders got to have good personality. I mean, that's key. And a lot of our riders did have very, very good personalities. I mean, they were sharp-witted, which led to some problems on the road. You know, when you got that many people that's jokers.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of good stories behind some certain things in there too. But on the side of keeping things going, it was always really good. But then now you got, here I am 20. One of our pro riders that was on, I think he was maybe a year older than me, 21. So we're like the oldest ones on the team, and our youngest is 7. So now here we're responsible for these young kids traveling across country, and half the time when we're traveling, I would have to schedule everybody's flights to fly in. If I knew there was layovers, then I would have to make sure that I was flying into wherever a layover was, because the parents were putting these young kids on planes from the West Coast. They would fly in. I would have to make sure I'm there first so I can get the kids off the plane. And then once I had it, everybody wherever our layover was, then we would get on another plane to go where we're going. And this was every week, because then I'd put them on a plane to fly home. The next week they would be put on a plane from California, Seattle. I mean, riders were coming from all over to fly in to meet me wherever.
Wow.
And then we would travel.
That's wild, man.
You know?
What was the incentive to doing all of it? Was it more advertising than money, or was the payouts pretty good?
There was no payouts in BMX back then, so it was just the publicity. I mean, as you can see, Hutch had a huge following. I mean, it had a strong following, just like any of the big teams like GT and Haro. So for us to be where we needed to be to compete with these other manufacturers, we had to be there.
That's so freaking cool, man. Yeah, I guess that's probably the way. I don't know if that's how it works or not. But Kawasaki and all of it, it's probably exposure. I don't know. This is. I think
it's all about
awesome.
making their sales on the back end too. I mean, look at people like Eli Tomac. I mean, here he was riding for Yamaha. How many people, after he left Yamaha, went to KTM? How many people out in this United States or across the world decide, because Eli changed Yamaha, he's riding KTM now, I have to switch?
Right.
And it's kind of the way it was even for these BMX guys in the back. And, you used to hear it all the time when you go to races. I mean, you go to some of these races and just people, I mean, when you're rolling into the track in a car, it's probably got to be the same way for them. I've never seen behind the scenes of what it is now because of everything, but back then that's what BMX was, where Supercross is today. It's not no more, but it was back then. So when you rolled in one of your rent-a-cars, I mean, people would just mob you.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have 1,000 people standing around a car, and you're trying to get to a parking place, and then you park, and then when you get out, it's just like constant. You're just autographing.
Wow. From
the time you get there to the time you leave, almost. It was like that back then. It was crazy.
I bet. That's awesome. That's got to be a cool feeling, though. Like you're famous, really.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, did you see that? That was Tomac that just raised up that or went to raise his trophy and knocked his teeth out.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I was like, dang, way to win. And next thing you know, your trophy knocks your teeth out.
Yeah, it's funny because people give me a hard time because here I am. I'm 60 now.
You're 60?
Yeah.
No kidding?
And I'm still racing motorcycles and all this stuff. It's like, dude, what are you going to do I was like, dude, I can go across the street and step off a curb and twist my ankle and break my ankle. You know what I mean? I do what I love.
Uh-huh.
And here's Tomac picks up a trophy. Wasn't even on a motocross track.
I know.
And then he breaks a tooth.
Yeah.
Picking up his trophy. It's the same. That's what I always like. It's like, you know what? That shit happens no matter what.
Right. It could be anything.
Right.
It could be, anything.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know you're 60. Dude, for 60, you're in good shape, honestly.
Thank you.
You think it has anything to do with your growing up and being active and just racing all the time?
I would like to think so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even my dad, in his early 20s, he started taking high blood pressure medication, and towards the end, that's what his demise was, because of all of his heart medications that he was taking over all the years. It caused kidney failure.
No kidding.
So here's all these medications that he had to take from his 20-year-old all the way up until he was 80. That finally took its toll on him. And I feel blessed that I still don't have high blood pressure. I'm borderline. It seems it's funny. It's like if like here in the wintertime, like I don't ride during the wintertime a lot of times, so I'm down a lot. And when I go to the doctors, my blood pressure gets real close to being borderline, and I got to start taking baby aspirins is what they prescribe you.
Really?
So I got to start taking baby aspirins, and they keep an eye on me closer. But then once I get into the spring and then I start riding a lot and I'm riding all the time, my blood pressure goes way down.
I bet.
And then I'm fine.
Yeah.
For the rest of the year, I'm okay. So yes, I do feel like staying active helps me a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been recently where I've tried to get not proactively healthy, but because my whole thing is looking at the medical system, not to get too crazy off the wall, but it seems like it's more reactive than proactive. So then I was looking at it, I'm like, well, dang, I'm further along than I thought I'd be. I might want to start taking care of myself a little more. And it's pretty interesting how much better you feel overall, and just by either diet or just drinking water normally or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. When you do a self-diagnosis, it's pretty amazing what you can actually feel your body do, or like it's telling you. I don't know. I guess that's awesome. Do you you're still into motocross, right?
Not so much. I still ride motocross. I don't race it professionally, or not professionally, but I don't race it really anymore, even locally. I've gotten more into the off-road side of things now. So now I'm doing sprint enduros, and some hair scrammer like GNCCs and things like that is where I've went into. Like 3 years ago, I had a really, more than 3 years ago now, it's probably been 4 years ago, I had a real bad crash down at Minneo's down in Florida, running in the top three in the 50 plus class. So, I mean, I still hold my own, running with ex-pros, that were big pro riders back in the day.
Damn.
And I didn't come up short, but it was a triple section in their supercross side of things. And they had just watered the track before we went out. And I went for the triple. And when I went off the first one, the bike kind of got spun. I came up a little short, and the bike just slid a little bit, but I still went for the third triple. And by the time I landed and still stayed into it to commit for the last triple, it got away from me on the slickness. And then I lost it, and I ended up shattering this wrist. I went through 4 different surgeries. At first, they told me there was nothing they could do. I was going to have all this fused. And actually, it was one of Travis Pastrana's doctors that I ended up going to see, and he was like, "No, I can fix it."
No kidding.
So going to his, I had to go to Annapolis for all 3 surgeries. So I went through 3 different surgeries.
That's gnarly.
I got fixed, and now I can use it again. Like it's like I still know it's there. It's got all kinds of plates in here.
Damn. That's gnarly.
But I still have a hard time. Like if there's a quarter laying here on the table, I can't pick a quarter up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Some mobility type things. It's difficult.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you're still able to hop on your dirt bike and ride.
Yeah.
Man, that's brutal. Yeah. Put you in perspective real quick about the day-to-day stuff. When you can't do something, I had a wreck in 2015 on a four-wheeler that put me in a back brace for 3 months.
Right.
And I was like, man, I'm never doing this again. Brutal. It's a young and dumb, becomes old and wise. I hope at some point.
Right.
So
right.
that thought of that keeps me in check all the time when I want to do something crazy.
Well, I do know once I went pro in motocross. This was back in the late 90s. I went pro for a bunch of years in motocross.
Really?
And I had a serious crash back then where I broke both ankles, blew out both knees, I broke both wrists, and I was a whole year in a wheelchair.
Are you serious?
Learning how to walk all over again. Yeah.
Damn.
So that ended my pro career in an early. I had literally the year prior was full factory KTM.
No kidding.
And that next year was when I had the bad accident. But back then I was having problems with KTM too. Like I was breaking a lot of weird shit on their bikes. Like I was going to their place in Ohio to the KTM factory and testing a lot of the bikes.
Really?
And then I was breaking weird shit that like nobody else was breaking. Like because back then it was 250s and 500s.
Oh, 2 strokes.
Yeah. So I was riding their 250 and their 500.
That's awesome.
And I was breaking like swing arms and frames and just weird shit like triple clamps.
No kidding.
For no reason.
Any explanation?
No.
They still don't know?
I'm sure they do now.
Yeah.
But back then, or even if they did know, I'm sure they weren't telling me.
No kidding. Nobody else is breaking that stuff?
According to them, but when you hear, it's a funny thing is so, you hear this stuff all the time from the factory. Oh no, we've never had that problem. And then then you hear later, it's like, oh well, I did the same thing. I broke the same. It's like, okay, they're just keeping it under wrap on what they're breaking until they can figure it out. So some of the stuff could have been that, but
yeah. It's interesting to me, Kawasaki, Honda, insert all the brands. It's like it started at some point, even though it started before I was born, but it's like at some point there is an origin point. So it's funny to me that we're all still figuring it out. Like and you might have a bad batch of material thrown in there too. It's like this ever evolving type thing that you just everyone's learning at the same time.
Right.
And then I don't know. I just think it's interesting though that like I think about it and I'm like, oh, they got it figured out, and I'm like, no, they don't. They're still recalling seatbelt modules and stuff. It's like it still happens, you know.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's interesting. It's just real people doing real people stuff all the time. So
I mean, yeah.
I just think about it like it's so professional. It's up here on this level, and it's like no, they're same level as me. It's just you know they have better marketing.
Well, we used to have it at Hutch all the time too. You know, where we'd all of a sudden we get phone calls for like in a row, maybe 4 or 5 frames broke in a row or something like that, and it'd be like, okay, we didn't have much of a problem in Hutch with things breaking a lot. I mean, we did just like any other manufacturer. Don't get me wrong, but if we had like 5 in a row or something within like a month's period, and we'd get phone calls with broken frames, then it'd be like, okay, we need to go back and check, when these bikes were sent out to these dealerships, where these bikes are coming back to, because we didn't really serial number anything.
Okay.
My dad didn't believe in serial numbers. Yes, it probably would have been a whole lot easier to track up. People ask us all the time, what's the numbers on your frame? No, that didn't mean nothing to us. What that meant is like some of the rear stays would get stamped from a machine shop down the road over here, but some of the other stays were coming from California or Texas or somewhere and being stamped there, and then it would be shipped in, and we weld them on to our frames. So we still had outsourced. A lot of our stuff was still outsourced.
When you
but
say
the actual bikes were assembled and built in our place.
Gotcha. When you say the frame stays, is that like where the wheel bolts to?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm still learning the vocabulary with these things.
So that flat stamp that gets welded onto the back of the frame,
makes sense.
Even the Hutch plates where the brake plate was, they were stamped and done somewhere else.
Okay.
And then that raw material was sent to us, and then it would get welded into the frames at our place and put in. That's why a lot of the Hutch plates that you see nowadays, they're actually stamped on both sides.
Okay.
So that it wouldn't make a problem at our manufacturer where the welder welded it in upside down or anything. So we just stamped everything on both sides.
That makes sense.
And this, like a lot of the stays, they would get serial numbered at the plant wherever they were getting made, but that was their process of keeping track of their product with a serial number, not us.
Okay.
Keeping track of it.
Yeah, but it probably makes it even more desirable because when you find one, you're looking at certain little things like is the frame gusseted at the top, or the cutout maybe like a D shape versus a round, and it probably years it at some point, I would think. No.
Well,
little subtle things.
Yeah, as we change manufacturers sometimes, some manufacturers that were stamping products for us couldn't stamp the way the other guy was stamping. So then things would change slightly or change. We would always make sure that it looked like ours.
Right.
But sometimes you can't get exactly what you want when you're... Because again, like we're sending this much product in and out the door every day. We were having, just even like the rear stays like I was talking about in a frame, we would get these big crates, massive crates of full of thousands, probably 10,000 in each crate.
Wow.
And we were going through those things so fast that's why these other places were stamping them and keeping track of how much product they were actually sending us, because I guess that's how they keep track of their billing too.
Right.
So
yeah, but I'm saying that's probably a good way for people to date these things, I would think, is looking at these subtle differences.
Yes.
The museum guys that are like after these things, they know
more about the product than anybody who ever worked at Hutch, to be honest with you. They know there's people out there that know more about Hutch bikes that has never stepped a foot in our factory, but they know way more about our product and every little product because they've studied it so much. I don't even know.
That's what blew my mind. I had no clue when I started to meet these guys about these collector bikes, because that's what we're doing is mostly collector bikes.
Yeah.
That they're looking for the new old stock little pieces that might be rusty, and they're like, no, that cleans up. That thing's worth big money, and it's impressive to see.
Oh, it's great. Even all the way down to the little machined bolts that we use for putting the pedal cages on pedals. Like people, I don't understand it, but they can even tell you if that's a real bolt or not. From looking at the pedals, that if it was from back in our time, or it's reman today, that there's a difference.
How about even just the pedals with it's like an aluminum, say a machined piece with the center for the bearings to go through for the shaft that goes into the crank.
Uh-huh.
But then you're talking about the pedal cages. It's like a steel or aluminum that could come in different designs, and it fits the same bolt pattern, but they could have more aggressive foot traction pieces, like how it's cut.
Well, we had them cut two different ways. So we had them cut to where they literally were bear traps, like right to the, and we'd have BMXers that would follow them even sharper. Like,
wow,
it was crazy. And then once freestyle came along, we were figuring out that those pedals actually had too much grip because they need to come on and off their pedals so freely with doing the tricks that now we had to start taking our pedal cages and actually putting them in a milling machine and milling all the points off and milling them flat.
That's crazy.
So they had a shorter stub on it, and then that's how that all started with the two different types of cages. So it wasn't changing the stamping pattern. They were still stamped with points. We would just stick 100 cages at a time in a vise, stick them in a milling machine, and it would mill them off before they got, put in a machine that made them round.
Okay.
So they would mill all the points off of them.
That's so freaking cool. I love how basic it is.
Yeah.
Like it outsider looking in, you're like, no, these tons of time on this, and it's like, no, just threw it in a vise and milled it off. It's the same
Just
piece,
because one rider said, "Look, I can't. You got to file the points off."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, well, we could do that."
Mm-hmm.
We would just put them in the machine and just mill them off, and that was actually before they even got polished.
That's awesome.
Or shaped. They would get the points milled off, and then we had a whole separate room. It was not much bigger than your studio right here, where we had giant buffing machines in there that would buff out all the small stuff in there. So It was always funny because when you're in the factory, all of a sudden you would hear something ricocheting off the walls. And it got caught in one of the buffers, and it would just, you could see everybody, because they had big glass in there too, so you could see in there, you'd see everybody just duck in there, because then you'd hear the thing bouncing off the walls and the ceiling, and it would take a couple, before then everybody would stand back up, go back to work.
That's funny.
So,
yeah, I imagine that's pretty wild. I just look at like the pedals, on a regular bike, they're just one piece, and it wasn't until all of my exposure to this stuff is from handling this stuff, and the thing for me is I never see it together. Like the guy isn't bringing the pedal here with it, the cage bolted to the piece, so I have no idea how it's even assembled. I just know to put color on it.
Right.
And then later on, looking at the stuff assembled, or at a car show, I saw one, and I'm like, oh, that's all the stuff I'm doing. That's how it's put together. That's super cool.
Yeah.
But then I realized, like, they could be, aftermarket could make them too, to where they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
It's like a modification, or maybe sharper, less points. Super cool.
Well, we had an aftermarket company. He was actually a good friend of mine that lived out in California. Ryan Groupie, that used to make a lot of titanium stuff for BMX bikes, and he was one of the first ones that made an aftermarket cage for our pedals.
No kidding.
My dad had a hard time with it at first, but you know what I mean, like, didn't like someone else making something for our product. But I mean, his were titanium, and they were extremely nice cages that went onto our pedals, which then in turn, my dad never made the titanium cages because he felt like that was too expensive, and the way people were crashing on the bikes back then, we were always constantly replacing cages because they would get mashed on the end. Mm-hmm. And for you to mash $150 cage back then, because that's what it would cost to make it out of titanium. Damn. He stuck with the aluminum, but then we started changing other things in it. Like we went to titanium shafts, then you had 1/2-inch shafts, 9/16 shafts.
This is for the centerpiece with the bearings on it.
Where they screwed onto the actual cranks.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started experimenting with different bearings in them and doing things like that. We, at one point in time, which we never released to the public, I have a set that's got ceramic bearings in them, which is extremely pretty cool. But those bearings back then were high dollar.
It's crazy.
Put
even
ceramic.
Back then.
Yeah.
Imagine now.
Yep.
Like, not even affordable. That's crazy.
Yeah. So my dad was always experiment with how can we make something better. You know what I mean? Like that was always his question to everybody. It's like, okay, we got a great product. What can we do to make that product better now without having to remake something completely different?
Yeah.
Like even when it came time for us to make the Trickstar, the Trickstar was literally built off of the Judge, which was a BMX frame. It was just everything else was added to it and everything else was done different. But they originally started in the same jigs of being built as the Judge frame.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So the geometry and everything was the same?
Yeah. The head angles, being steeper and things like that, and the shorter stay from the seat post to the head, that all worked for the freestylers. They liked that short angle is like what the Judge had.
Okay.
So that's what they were based off of.
When you're looking at these bikes, you were helping design them. What goes into the way that not only strength of from the neck back where it's two tubes or sometimes it's multiple, or I don't know. What are you looking for? And like even just recently I saw there's two operands I showed you. I looked back at the pictures and the backbone, I guess, probably the top tube that comes off from the neck. It came up and it kind of went up at a different angle and then came down past the seat post. So, I mean, what on a frame like that, I'm like, oh, it's just steel. It can't move as long as it's strong. But it sounds like there's way more engineering in the geometry to where the housing might handle or something.
Well, some of the stuff was aesthetics.
Okay.
You can only do so much to a BMX bike without the next guy looking the same. You know what I mean? So a lot of the manufacturers did change tubing just to look different.
Okay.
But there is a lot of stuff that goes into actually that you got to think about on behind the scenes, because now you got flex and then you got frames that are stiffer. Some riders like flex, some riders don't like flex. So it's like it's finding that difference on the way something's built that each rider liked individual. Now we used to hear that a lot with our bikes, that our bikes had just enough flex in them, because we did at one point in time try to stiffen our bikes up with adding different bracketries to it and doing different things to stiffen it. Once the bike stiffened up, then it seemed like riders were having a more of a difficult time with the bikes, including myself when I was testing some of the stuff that got stiffer. It was like you almost needed some flex to ride properly. Even where the cranks were when you're and I always relate things to BMX because that's what I knew. So even coming off a gate in a BMX, and you got that first crank out of the gate, you got that second and third, like you can feel the bottom of the bike flexing. It would actually help get, you know what I mean? Because you got to wind your legs up to get them rotating to get yourself up to speed. And that flex would get you there quicker sometimes.
Okay.
Versus a stiff bike, because then it becomes more muscle. So if you didn't have the muscle, that stiffer bike was harder for you to ride.
Okay.
Now we had riders of both. There was riders like Charles Townsend, which was, that dude had some thighs on him that I ain't never seen before. I mean, he was a powerhouse beyond powerhouse, and I felt like he would probably ride better on a stiffer frame.
Okay.
Versus someone like later in our days, like Eric Carter, who was a shorter leg rider like myself that needed that flex to get things going, to get your speed legs up. So it was a little bit of both, you know what I mean? So even we experimented with aluminum frames for a little while.
That's what I was going to ask you next. It was
Yep.
for the chromoly. That's amazing that you were that tuned into the bike, though, to feel it.
Yeah, you can
That's
feel it.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Especially when you're riding something, you know what I mean? Like when you're testing stuff, you're changing, then you're testing it, and then you're changing. And then it's like all of a sudden you forget what you drove first, then you go back, and then you start over. And it always helped me to make notes. I mean, I was always a big notes person. So I made notes on different things, on what I felt like, what didn't work, you know what I mean? Like,
I guess it's probably the difference of like riding recreationally and then like riding for performance, because you're constantly critiquing yourself or wondering how you can do better. So you're probably trying to feel everything off the starting gate or what the bike's doing underneath your feet.
Well, and you got to remember, BMX bikes don't have suspension either.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when you're jumping and doing things like that, if you don't want to track a rougher terrain, you have to have some kind of flex, you know what I mean, to take up that, absorb that terrain a little bit, not having suspension.
Yeah.
Because you can't run lower PSI in your tires, because then that slows you down either. So you got to keep your tire pressure that's comfortable for you and still maintain. So you still have to have some kind of flex.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that flex will bite you in the ass. You know, you'd break something, you know, but
yeah,
it was finding that fine line.
Yeah. Is there any relation to like the neck caster and the seat angle?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would change, you know. I mean, like the Judge is a completely different head angle than the Pro Racer, you know. and all of them had different head angles
Okay.
that we experimented with. But that was the two that we stuck with.
Gotcha.
And those two pretty much went across the line, even when we were having stuff made in Japan. Now, some of that stuff was different because some of their tooling over there couldn't do what we were doing here. So some of the geometries on some of those bikes changed. Not by much. We tried to keep everything as very similar to what we were already making and what was already working for us.
Yeah.
So that's what we stuck with.
Yeah, I was just before you got here, I was checking those two bikes out, and I was like, the GT looked like the seat post, whatever holds the seat post, that angle there, it was parallel with the neck, and I was like, wonder if there's some sort of thing where you might, if that affected the
Well, some riders, some riders ride front heavy on a bike, and what I mean by that, they keep all their body weight and their head directly over the front wheel, and that's how they ride. And then you have other riders that ride back on the bike. They put the bike in front of them and they're pedaling to try. It almost looks like they're trying to catch up to the bike. When you got, and those seem to be the two. There's places in between what riders ride, even depending on how you're taught. On a bicycle, when you start becoming pretty good. I mean, because you can do training things with riders, and riders will stick to. You need to ride with your head, just like when you go to motocross and stuff. I mean, I used to teach back in the day too, and there were certain things that I would teach riders just like everybody else does. And that's one of the biggest things now. See, I was always big on teaching in 2-strokes. 4-strokes came along. It was almost like you had to change your riding style up to ride. You couldn't ride a 4-stroke the way you rode a 2-stroke. So that changed, and people are figuring it out now. You know what I mean? Like, look at the riders now. They're doing stuff on motorcycles. It's ridiculous.
It's insane.
Yeah. When you're looking at the Lawrences and the Tomacs on how their body English is even on those bikes, it's like crazy. I mean, that's not stuff I ever did back in the day. You know what I mean? It was we kept the bike straight.
Yeah.
Now it's just a whole nother level. So, and it's the same thing in BMX. It's just depending on where they ride on the bikes, and then you finding that geometry in between where works for you. Whether you ride back on the bike or you ride up on the bike. If you rode back on a bike, then the Pro Racer to Hollywood was probably your better bike. But if you rode up on the bike, then the Judge was better for you. So
that's cool. You guys had a solution for the riding style.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's killer. You said you did switch to aluminum. I was going to ask you why you guys chose chromoly, and if you did explore with aluminum.
We did explore with aluminum. We even had a mountain bike at one point in time. We never released it.
No kidding.
I still have one.
Really?
That was made out of aluminum and stuff like that. Aluminum was, I guess, tough for all of us in the manufacturer because everybody was so into chromoly. What finally worked for us is we did bring in an outsource that helped us a little bit with aluminum and technology and aluminum and different types of aluminum and all that kind of stuff. And we did come out with a little hole shot, which was for kids that was basically 10 and under, maybe 12 if you're pushing it on the aluminum bikes. Those we did release to the public.
That's cool.
My dad felt like that it was a huge liability going into aluminum. He didn't like it. He didn't really want nothing to do with it in the beginning. But then once we started producing some stuff, experimenting with stuff, and then him seeing it, was like, well, let's do it for the little kids and let's stick it at that. That's as far as I'm going right now.
Probably because of weight, I would think, because they weren't going as fast and the danger wasn't as high, maybe.
Yeah. So those little kids, those bikes back then, they weren't leaving. Those little kids were trying to keep the bikes on the ground. That's where they were getting all their power from. So even in BMX, it was all about, even on the jumps, about not getting there. Now, today, this is where the difference is with pump tracks. You see a lot of these pump tracks now where people have to jump to get over certain things. Well, back then, it wasn't. Even for the older kids, it was wheels on the ground as much as possible, and it was figuring out how to go into a jump and not catching no air. You know what I mean? By just shifting your body weight on a bike and, almost not necessarily bunny hopping it, but getting light on the bike before the jump and then pushing down on the downside of jump so that you keep the bike on the ground. And some of the little kids were pretty good at it. Now, when it came to jumping on bikes, my dad, even with our racers that were racing on the aluminum bikes, he was adamant about just don't jump. You know what I mean? Use it as a race bike, keep the bike on the ground and keep it doing what it's supposed to do. But we had riders that were jumping on, and they were fine. You know what I mean? Like we had Luna he was probably one of the first ones, and Rich Houseman. Those two riders were unbelievable as young kids. So they were probably our first two riders that really started jumping on the aluminum bikes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I guess probably thickness of the metal too, and light, and getting the same sort of, I don't know, bike, like a comparison between the chromoly to the aluminum strength wise, I guess.
Right.
With weight and things, is I can see the concern.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, nowadays, now aluminum has come a long way. You know what I mean? Like the geometry or the chemical bonds in aluminum now is just all man-made.
Oh, you're saying that even the product you were getting just across the board was just crap.
Yeah, we were using it was a military grade aluminum is what we were using. And I forget the actual number. There's a number to it. But it was mostly back then was used in the military for doing certain things in the military. And then that's where we were getting some of our stuff, not from the military, but we were getting that grade of what was being used in the military, and we were getting it to our specs. And then, two of our welders in particular had to go back to school and go back through training on actually how to weld that type of aluminum.
No kidding.
And they were learned on how to weld it to where it didn't show no welds. So it looked like the frame was actually molded together, but it wasn't. It was welded. But you didn't see no welds. You didn't see no beads in it. Like it was perfectly smooth. It just looked like a perfect chamber.
Wow. Like a fusion weld almost?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I imagine that you guys had quite the fabrication shop. And all that is, if it's chromoly, it would have been TIG welded, I imagine.
Everything in our shop was TIG welded.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever learn it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. You still do it?
I still do it a little bit, not like I used to. I actually still have one of the welders from back in the day. It
really?
Still works fine.
That's awesome.
Before all this new sync, all the newer sync wave stuff and all had technology, but I still love that old. I got a newer welder, but I like the older welder.
That's awesome.
But, everything was TIG welding in our shop. So, back when I was in high school, I went through Votech, and I went through the machine shop part of Votech, and I went through welding. And my dad actually had conversations with my teachers back when I was in high school doing all that to specifically train me in TIG for welding and milling machines and lathes in the machine shop. So that's where a lot of I didn't go, when I was in welding school, everybody else is learning arc and doing all this other stuff to keep a versatile thing. He kept me strictly on TIG welding.
Wow.
It just so happened that my TIG welder instructor, his daughter worked in our factory. We had two women welders in our shop, and his daughter was one of them.
That's super cool.
Was one of our welders.
Hell yeah. That's kind of cool, the connection you had. That's awesome. Wow. So you were born into it. That's awesome. It's quite the history. And I don't know, just like I said, being born in like the 90s and stuff, I didn't have the appreciation for the type of stuff. So it's cool to like go back through, and I'm learning the history and how these stuff, like how important it was in the at the time,
Right.
I don't know. I just think it's awesome that even just like the Pro Shop bicycle place here in Ocean Pines, like go in there and I'm like, these are different levels of bikes. Like you can feel the bearings in the wheels, like they're the crank bearings, like.
Yeah. The technology now is ridiculous. I've looked at a bunch of new stuff now. It's like, holy hell.
How about the cranks, the actual arms on the length? Did you ever play with those?
Yeah.
Is that like something that you guys would tune like at the track and stuff?
Yeah. Most of our riders that were riding with us, a lot of them all rode different size cranks, depending on what their, what their ability was and their leg length. That played a lot into play with a lot of that stuff on how long their legs were on the bike versus even have two riders in the same class. One might be riding a 175 millimeter, the other's riding 170 millimeter, because everything was in millimeters with crank lengths back then. So Hutch made, I think we only went into production to believe it. I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure somebody out there, whoever's a pro, will say, no, you made this. But
Yeah, give us
I'm
some
pretty
comments.
sure it was 175 was the only ones that we went into production with. Now, we did have 170s and we had 180s that we were playing with, but I don't think they ever went to production. And if they did, I don't remember them going to production. I do know the 175s did, though.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking about that because that's something you guys could play with for the race guys, and even like the gearing. Did you ever mess with the gearing on them?
All the time.
I
From
figured.
track to track, that always changed. Even crank lengths sometimes change for a rider from track to track.
Makes sense. Yeah, now that I'm like putting it together, I'm like the go-kart guys and the race car guys are pulling rear ends and putting different gear ratios in it, so it makes total sense. When you're to that level.
Yeah.
But I guess it's being exposed to it. If you're at a dirt track your whole life, you're probably going to be, knowing how to change stuff. It's I don't know, just
Right.
never been exposed to the BMX stuff. I remember in the '90s, say in elementary school and stuff. I did watch a lot of like X Games and stuff.
Right.
And that was kind of like the tricks, and I remember like Dave Mira and Tony Hawk. He was more of a skateboarder, but that's kind of like my era of stuff.
Okay.
Watching it on TV. I remember watching like I watched a lot of dirt bikes too.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it was pretty popular, but I don't know. I guess I kind of I don't know if I grew out of it or what, but
Right.
I don't
Right.
know. Always been mechanical, but not so. I don't know. Just
That's kind of my background. Even to this day, I still stay, even once we got out of Hutch, I mean, I shifted to motorcycle stuff. While I was still racing, I was also building motors for other people too.
Really?
Yeah, I was doing all the porting and polishing and raising exhaust ports and, finger porting and doing all that crazy stuff on, changing the millimeter size of the carburetors, and, milling out my own carburetors and stuff like that for different engines for different horsepower.
A lot of two-stroke stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. I love two-strokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rebuilt. You remember them, the TRX 250Rs?
Uh-huh.
So that's what I wrecked in 2015. It's that monster. I built it to a 330, 330cc, and it was like a 5 mil stroke crank. It was a nasty little unit. But what's funny is I'm sitting there assembling this thing. I'm not like a dedicated engine guy. I love two strokes because they're simple. There's not a bunch of valves and stuff. It's just a piston and top end.
Yep.
But I was putting the cases back together because actually this was a full build. Transmission was out and the whole deal. And I'm like, looking at it, I'm like, dang, the gear oil is for the transmission. That's separate. That's completely separate. This thing's burning gas and oil mixture. And this is how my brain was working. I'm like, looking at it, just pressing the crank bearings. I'm like, how are the crank bearings getting lubrication?
Right.
Right. I'm like, I had to look it up because I was like, I'm genuinely curious. There's no oil bath in those suckers, and those things are spinning, dude.
Yeah.
But it was when I realized that the air is flowing up and around, and the oil droplets are staying inside the crank. That's where it's getting its lubrication.
Yeah.
I'm like, so simple, but it's if you're not thinking about it, I don't know. It's just mind blowing, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even back in the day when I was doing two strokes, everybody's running like 32 to 1 and 40 to 1. Some were dropping to 50 to 1. Where I was, some of my builds, I was running anywhere from 60, 70 to 1.
No kidding, that lean?
Yeah. Running them lean.
Yikes.
Now you got to replace the rings in them, but any of the fast caliber riders, they were running 2 and 3 races anyway and still having to rebuild and put that kind of stuff in them. But when you're building a race motor, it's getting rid of some of that lubrication, frees up horsepower.
Yeah, you're not wrong. When it's in a race application, I get it.
Yeah.
It's different when it's your chainsaw or your everyday trail rider.
Yeah.
You're not looking for that high performance.
Yep,
Then that's that fine line I guess you guys got to ride,
Yeah. Well, my two-stroke now that I have, it's 100 to 1.
No kidding?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's fuel injected. It's the KTM that fuel injected 300, and it literally runs 100 to 1. So it don't have much oil.
You don't premix it yourself?
Well, I do, yes, but it doesn't need nothing else.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, makes you wonder how they stay together. But
wonder.
And KTM even tells you can put 100 hours on that bike before you have to place their piston and rings in it. I'm like, man, I don't.
Only 100?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like that many.
Oh, that's a lot.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot for a two-stroke.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But, yeah.
I know when that thing comes alive, that's probably the best feeling ever. I'm like, I've never done like hard drugs like cocaine or something, but
Right.
I'm sure that that's what it feels like. That 2-stroke power band just throwing you back, and like it's the most insane feeling ever. It's got to, I don't know. It's just
I strongly
something.
believe what for me, growing up in the early '80s with all my friends doing drugs and drinking and partying, that's literally probably what kept me out of a lot of that trouble. Was,
Really?
yeah, well, my high was getting on my motorcycle.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean, or riding a bicycle.
It's literally like a drug.
Yes.
And that's why I equated it to it.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It is to this day. It's like almost like if I go more than a month, sometimes where I start to get the shakes. It's like I got to get back on my bike. It's like you got to ride.
Yeah, something in your blood.
It
or
like
something.
levels out your brain. Like
Uh-huh.
it levels out. Like it's almost like hitting a reset button.
Yeah,
Like you just get all this clutter in your head sometimes with everyday work and everyday bullshit that's going on and all that kind of stuff. And then it's just like when you get on your bike, you can't think. You know what I mean? Like if you let one of them thoughts go through your head while you're on a bike, you're gonna end up on the ground. Not to say you won't end up on the ground anyway, but
yeah, like the sidewalk.
that's gonna be the first thing that'll put you on the ground as soon as you lose your thought.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just always that relief, and it was almost like hitting a reset. And then okay, now I'm good again. My head's clear. I can think. I can do what I need to do.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever? You're into dirt bikes and stuff. Do you ever have motorcycles or anything?
I had a street bike for a little while.
Did you like it?
I loved my street bike, but I got in too much trouble on it. It had to go.
Oh,
You know,
responsible.
yeah. Well, I was one of these guys that wheelied my dirt bike or my street bike
Mm-hmm.
places, and again, this was back in my late 20s. I got in trouble where I was wheeling down one highway. I stopped at a light. The cop said he was still trying to catch me. I went down another road and then turned off on this other road, was going down there, and they had a roadblock set up for me on a bridge. At the time, I didn't have a motorcycle license. It got me for reckless driving through 3 different counties, speeding, even though they couldn't tell me what my speed was. But it was like, I don't know, it was like 20 some tickets. I had to actually end up going to court, and the judge threw everything out. But one reckless driving, even though I got away with all that stuff, it was just like, okay, I'm done. And I think what was one of the biggest factors is I had a lot of close calls on a street bike. As you know, when you're riding on a street bike, people don't see you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times going down a highway and somebody just moved over and actually bumped me.
Yeah.
And moved me, out of the way. And it's like, dude, because
Yeah.
they don't see you.
I know.
And after that a couple times, and then that whole mess that went down, I was like, and I was at the top of my career of racing pro at the time. Even though I didn't have a big pro career, but I was trying. I was like, okay, I need to be done with this before I get hurt on this.
Oh yeah.
And then I got rid of it.
I don't blame you. You're right though, man. People, I can't fault them though, because they kind of, not that they can have loud pipes and be colored and stuff, but it's, I don't know. It's like your brain's trained to look for a car when you're in a car. It's hard. When you're on a motorcycle, you're looking for other motorcycles.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying I understand it, but I can see the disconnect where some people they're not expecting it to, and you come up so quick. I'm not giving them an out. I'm just saying it is dangerous. It scares the heck out of me anymore. I haven't ridden that thing in so long. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to get back on it and like put my training wheels back on.
Right.
You know. Do you mess with 4-strokes at all?
Yeah. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff with 4-strokes now. I do titanium valve. I do, a lot of work on 4-strokes and stuff like that.
Oh, so you're still working on the dirt bikes and stuff?
I still do some dirt bike race. Now, I got into, a bunch of years ago, I got into purchasing and owning my own marina for a while too.
Okay.
So when 4-stroke outboards first started coming out, I was the only dealer in this on the whole East Coast, besides Florida, in this general area, that was completely rebuilding 4-stroke outboards with problems.
Okay.
To the point when Suzuki first came out with their 225s, 200s, and 250s, they were farming their cranks out. So I want to say it was Isuzu. Isuzu was making the cranks. When they were sending those cranks to Suzuki, they weren't cleaning them. Suzuki didn't know it. They were assembling the motors at their plant, and they weren't cleaning out all the oil journals. So the oil journals still had metal shavings in them. So when they first came out with those engines, a lot of them were blowing up within the first 10 to 20 hours.
No kidding.
Like, this is when they first came out. This is back in the early 2000s. So I was literally one of the only shops that was certified directly from Suzuki to actually rebuild and reassemble, we want to call it, out in the field.
Okay.
So a lot of even what was happening in other dealerships, like these engines were blowing up, those dealerships were instructed to send those motors to me. So I was getting those engines because I had a full machine shop in our marina, and I was doing a lot of machine work and I was already building race motors for like a lot of the Scarabs and a lot of the race boats that were on the Chesapeake Bay.
No kidding.
So that's what my machine shop was doing. So I was already doing head work. I was doing, a lot of milling stuff and a lot of machine work for all that. Once those outboards started having problems, then I transferred over into doing a lot of stuff with outboards. So I was getting a lot of that stuff to rebuild.
That is awesome, man. So you're full, like, one-stop shop. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys were actually taking... I'm actually just learning about boat motors myself recently.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, there's a power head, and that's where the pistons and the crank and stuff are.
Yep.
So, and then you have, like, doesn't really have a transmission, but it's got a bunch of junk and exhaust that goes down to the prop, right?
Right.
You know. I guess for the listeners, that's kind of how it works.
Yep. Yep.
But when they're talking about, like, replacing the power head, I'm like, well, it seems silly. Why wouldn't you just replace the motor? That seems like what you're doing. But is that what you were taking out and rebuilding that?
Yeah. Well, basically, so outboards. Some of these outboards, they're built off of a car engine.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it.
It's just taking a car engine that's sitting in there one way and turning it up on end on another way, and just having to remachine and redo all your oil passages mainly. Everything else, like the Honda outboards, the 225s, it's a VTEC motor.
Really?
Right out of the Honda cars. It's just everything in it is a VTEC motor.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
So all they're doing is they're just turning them up on end. They're remachining the blocks, remachining the oil pumps, that is getting proper oil. A lot of in the early, I don't know if they're still doing it now, but Yamaha, like their early 150s, they were Ford motors.
Okay.
Internally, they were Ford four-cylinder engines.
Wow.
The cranks still had the Ford stamping on them. The rods all had Ford stampings on them. Yeah, they were Ford motor inside.
That's crazy.
So if you think about it, so when you talk about power head on an outboard, it's basically an engine that's in your car.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole top half of your motor, you take that off and redo what you have to do and put it back. It's all the same valve clearance. I mean, all that stuff is done the same as like a car mechanic would do for your car with adjusting valves and everything.
Yeah, well, that's what I got recently. You saw my little boat. It's got a what is it, Suzuki 150 on it, and I was doing like a quick service on it. I was looking at it, I'm like, dude, this is literally like a 4-cylinder. I have like a little Jimny or something, or I don't know what it's out of, but Samurai or something, you know. Like but what's weird to me though is, I guess I didn't think about it until I was talking to my other buddy. The exhaust comes out the bottom.
Yep.
Which is kind of weird. And then I don't remember seeing like a manifold on the side though. So is it got a manifold?
Yeah, it's
okay,
got an exhaust manifold. It's water cooled, so it doesn't look like something like you'd normally see like a header on a car or anything.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're identical, just forcing everything down instead of out.
Okay. And the crank, not the crank, but the flywheel's on top.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's
Yeah.
cool. And that's another thing though. I guess when you break it down, some dude at some point was like, dude, let me take this Honda motor or this Ford motor and I'll put it on a boat. But I'm going to flip it this way and machine it work, right? And it's probably how it was born.
Yeah.
I love how simple that stuff is. Over time, it evolves, yes, but the first thing came maybe from some idea that some guy had in his garage, you know? But kind of like, just like how Hutch was born and like other companies that, you know, rise to the top of the game. That's super cool, dude. Yeah. You like working on boats?
I like working on boats. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got tired of it for a little while when I had my marinas, you know, because it seems like you start getting big like that and doing a lot of stuff, and then you got employees and staff, and then it almost feels like sometimes you become a glorified babysitter. Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, but and then it just a lot of it just becomes too much work, you know, with the overhead and just making sure, you know, because at one point in time I was also selling boats, so. I mean, at one point in time, I was $10 million in boat sales. Floor plans were, you know, $8 million in boats sitting on my floor, just like a car dealership. You know, it's the same basic floor plans that they use that I had. And when things start to get that big, it gets a little hectic. And I got burnt. I got burnt out. You know, I owned that marina for going on 20 years.
Wow.
And so when I got offered some money to get out, I sold it all. It was like a relief. I said, okay, I'm done. I'm going to find something else to do. And when I sold the marina, I also had to sign a non-compete, so I didn't stay in the Annapolis area anymore, which is where my marina was. I was already spending some time down here, so I was like, you know what? I like Ocean City. I'm going to move to Ocean City and hang out down here. And then it was funny, a lot of my customers from up there started finding out where I was at, started asking me to work on their boats. And at first it was like, no, I'm out. And then it was like, after a while, it's like, I kind of started to miss it, to be honest with you. I don't know, anything mechanical like that, I just liked. And I started to get bored and had nothing to do, and I kind of liked it.
Hell yeah.
So I got back into it a little bit, and then it just started growing again. Now I got over like the last 10 years, I got really big into doing, even when I was at the marina, I started doing a lot of fiberglass. So I started making and manufacturing my own molds. Not manufacturing for other people, but I was making molds. Not of whole boats, but I was doing like flush mounted deck hatches, for, there was a fiberglass shop that was down the road from me that was doing a lot of fiberglass work with replacing floors and stuff like that, where they were just putting in plastic hatches and all that kind of stuff. Well, I had a customer in particular, and he wanted like everything flush mounted, didn't care what it cost. So I was like, I had one of those customers. So I was like, all right, if you don't care what it costs, I said, this is what's going to take me to get to do what you were asking me to do. This is the extra money. I said, now I can pay you back a percentage after that if I start manufacturing out of that mold for other people. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, dude, whatever, just do that.
That's badass.
So that's when I started making my own flush mount molds for hatches and covers. And then I got into console molds and some bigger stuff like that. I never got into an actual boat, but I kept it to small molds and things like that. Even hard tops for T-tops on boats. I had a mold for doing
no
a
kidding.
hard top.
Like the roofs, that's pretty cool. I've seen that that's becoming a bigger thing these days.
And I had mine two-piece, just like a lot of them you see now, so you can run, which is kind of what I'm going to do for you on your Jeep. Mm-hmm. So now that I have your fiberglass top for your Jeep, was running wires through it and actually molding in lights to where lights will fit into the actual fiberglass and things like that. So,
dude, I'm so pumped. I've been telling all my buddies, I'm like, dude, my Jeep truck's cool, but wait until the top is going to like be the icing on it. Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah. It's so sick. Dude,
well, as soon as you told me it was going to start to be in Brad's shows and stuff like that, because Brad's a part of our RV show also with his Bronco bashes and stuff like that has joined up with our RV show. So once you said it was going to be in Brad's shows, I was like, all right, we got to step this aside. I think it's going to be a pretty good top when it's done.
No doubt in my mind. Yeah. I'm so pumped. And that's kind of like how we collided at some point was you were talking about doing boat work, and I think you brought some boat parts in, I can't remember, but you're into everything, man. And it happened to be like, hey, I got this project that's fiberglass, and I think you were the fiberglass guy. I don't know, it's intriguing. I know it's simple, but it's not easy, and that's the same thing with powder coating. Like you see like guys on Instagram that are just like do what's called hot flocking it, so like they'll just throw it in the oven, bake it, and then they'll take it out and hang it from like an engine hoist, and they'll spray it, and you see it melt on contact, and it looks cool on the internet, but like it's not exactly the right way. Which, hey, if it works, is it the right way? Probably, whatever. But fiberglass is one of those things too, where it's like you can make it look glorious in a quick clip, but there's so much work that goes behind the actual process. Yeah. So I don't know. I just think it's awesome that you're our area. There's probably some badass fiberglass guys here that could do it, or they do other boat work, but it's like they're either so busy or you can't get a hold of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. There's quite a few actually good fiberglass guys here in this area.
Really?
I mean, yeah, but it's like you just said, it's either you can't get a hold of them,
I've tried calling,
or they're backed up for months, or if you do get a hold of them, they're like, oh yeah, I can do it, and then you don't hear from them for like 6 months. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I hear that all the time too. It's just like I told you. It's like I'll be right up front with you. It's like it's going to take me 2 months probably to do something like this.
Easy. So well, and I know it's custom too. So right. I'm just like happy you're taking it on, honestly. But
right.
But that's it. I'm pretty flexible. I get it. I'm just glad that you're able to take a custom project on like that. Right. It's super cool on those consoles and stuff. So how does it work? Just break it down. Is it like you said? It's a mold. So is it? I picture like it bolts together, and then like you lay in fiberglass and resin, and how does that work?
if you want to do it on a simple term, think of it as like your bathtub. Let's take your bathtub. Let's just say you want to build something off your bathtub, but you want that outside of that. You know what I mean? It's like reversing your bathtub. So if I'm gonna roll mold up in your bathtub, because that's basically what a mold is. It's gonna be a box, or it's gonna be even my consoles. They're inside of a box, and you're spraying what you want the outside of your console to look like first.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take the gel coat, the color you want, that gets sprayed into that mold first.
I always wondered that.
Yeah.
So they actually are spraying the color
Backwards.
in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's done backwards.
And how does it adhere to the fiberglass and not stick to the mold?
Well, once the gel coat's in there, you'll start laying it up with fiberglass on the backside of it. So there's different types of materials. You'll start with a thinner, what they call a CS mat, which is a crush strand, and that's acting as like an glue, an adhesive for everything else that's going to come next.
Okay.
So as you're building it up with all your fiberglass mat, you're basically building it up from the backside. And then once that's all done and it's cured, like if you're building a boat, so the boat's going to, some of the boats will stay in that mold all the way up until they even have the stringers all fiberglassed in them. Okay. Then they'll pop them out because that's the rigidity.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like if you had a boat and it's that big and you had no structure inside of it and you pop it out of a mold, it's going to be flimsy as hell. Mm-hmm. Like it'll flex and move and twist and bend. Makes sense. Same thing as a console. So you got to build the material up to where I use I forget what the name of it is now, but it's a thicker mat. Mm-hmm. And once you lay that up in it adds a structural integrity to the console. And then I just use air. And I have an air fitting I have an air fitting in the bottom of the console mold, and you just hit it with air, and it just poof pops it up, and you just pull it out of the mold. And
That's
then it's shiny. Everything's you might have some imperfections in it.
That's awesome.
But even before you do a mold, you got to do mold prep. That's a whole nother thing before you even spray. You know what I mean? So it's like a whole procedure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I imagine that you want the outside finish looking money. So
yeah. Well, you don't want it sticking in your mold too. It'll pull your mold apart when you pop it out. Because I've had that before too, where you miss a spot or something like that. When you pop it, pulls fiberglass out with it.
That makes sense. Well, that's what I was wondering. How in the heck it doesn't adhere to the mold? So there's a whole list of things. Yeah,
and everybody's got their different ways of doing it. I mean, I do it with a wax mold release, and then I use a PVA, which is it's a water-based cellular type material, and I spray it with that. And then a lot of people don't like to do it that way, but that's how I do it. It's just easier. I make sure it comes out of the mold every time with the PVA instead of just a mold release wax.
That's pretty cool. And I guess when you see some boats with like the top, or it could be maybe at the top of a hatch where it has like that either the cross hatch pattern or it's got like a grip texture to it. Is that something that is in the mold too?
I don't have none of my molds with that.
I'm just saying, is that how it's applied or how it's generated? Because it looks like it's in the actual mold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of your boat manufacturers will have what they call their non-skid already built into the mold. Any of the stuff that looks like sand, that's done afterwards. That's rolled in basically after the boat's done and built.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, you've done it all, man. You're a busy guy.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
How do you find time for all of it?
Pace it out.
Damn.
Yeah.
So, are you still building engines now? Or are you and doing boat repairs? What you're doing these days?
I mostly do boat repairs and RV stuff.
Okay.
Usually every year I'll take an RV in and we'll do a complete remodel where somebody will pay me, they want it updated or something like that. We'll gut the whole interior and modernize it, bring it up to what these RVs are nowadays. A lot of these RVs you see now, man, they're nicer than some people's homes inside. It's ridiculous.
100%.
Yeah.
They're nice, man.
And some people don't want to spend the money in the finance on a new one. They would rather just put the money in what they got because the shell's good. And we'll gut them and redo them and refabricate them and I do a lot of custom stuff in it. It's the only way I will do it is if I'm allowed to do custom stuff into it, like one-off, because otherwise then it becomes like building a house.
Monotonous.
And I'm not good at that.
That's pretty cool. So you're like changing the floor plans and, maybe making different cabinets and you're customizing this thing to where it maybe accommodates different things.
Yeah. We do cool. Like a lot of custom pocket doors and slide doors and different things like that. The last one I just did, I made the shower walls in it, because in RVs you got to keep everything light. So I used the foam board, styrofoam board like you can buy at Home Depot. I bought that as my shower walls, and I do one layer of fiberglass matting on it, which builds strength into that foam, so you can't push your finger into it. So it gets strong, and then I cover it with that, and then we do a base, almost like a gel coat, just like I'm doing fiberglass work, where we'll base it with either a black gel coat or a white, and then I do poured epoxies on it, like you see some of these tables with all these wild looking. We just did a shower one where I did all that, and we poured it as a poured epoxy where it looks like it's almost like a beach thing inside of it with all the different color blues, like the skies in it and everything, and how it all blended together. It turned out pretty cool.
That's badass. You have like a creative freedom, and that's like an art side of you.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yep.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah.
Huh. Man, that's really cool. Yeah, we just did some pieces for a slide out or a door or something that you were working on.
Yeah. That's
neat. So the RV thing's taking off?
Yeah,
that's focus on that for a while?
Yeah, that's doing good. I mean, again, going all the way back even to the Hutch days and before Hutch and everything like that, RVs have been in my life. I grew up around RVs.
Yeah, well, you're traveling around probably.
Yeah, so when it came time to do switching into something, I didn't want to at first. It was kind of something I was fighting. But I just had so many people with RVs and friends around here and everything. This is a vacation community where we're in. There's thousands of RVs here.
Oh, yeah.
And boats. So when it came time, like I said, I fought it for a long time. And then when I started working on it, I was like, well, shit, all these systems are the same as a boat. They're using the same water pumps. I mean, everything's identical. It seems like all the same breaker panels, like everything you do is identical to a boat. So I was like, I didn't have really a problem with it. So I ventured into it. And then I met my wife. And then a couple years ago, I asked her, because she was working for the town of Ocean City. She handles all of this, was handling all the social media and all the stuff online for what the town of Ocean City was doing. And her boss pretty much runs everything that happens as far as activities in Ocean City. So I happened to ask her, I was like, why doesn't Ocean City do an RV show? I mean, we're like right in the middle of, like, this is a resort town. This should have an RV show just like the boat show.
Yeah, right.
And she's like, oh, I don't know. Let me go ahead. And so she went and asked her boss and immediately called me and said, you need to come in here now. So I went down and met her at our office downtown and went in and sat down with the head guy here. And he's like, dude, we've been trying to get an RV show here for 30 years.
No kidding?
Yeah. To the point where the convention center actually showed me all the emails and all the notes back and forth for different people working on trying to get an RV show in here in town. Nobody understood why. They just, convention center knew that that's what they wanted. They've been wanting one forever.
Yeah.
Just no one, it just seems like it gets to a certain point and then it just would just disappear. Like the emails would stop, everything would stop. Nobody could explain why. No, so I was like, well, shit, if they're going to let us do it, we rented, like almost that day we signed a contract. It was like within a couple of days, signed a contract with the convention center. We're doing an RV show.
That's cool.
About 4 months in, we realized why there's no RV show in Ocean City.
Oh, yeah?
There's Maryland laws that does not allow. One, there was a law that said that even the Maryland dealers couldn't do more than 2 shows a year. They couldn't participate in more than 2 shows.
What?
So I didn't understand. I mean, I did boat shows all over the place when I had my marina. Like I was doing boat shows in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland.
Yeah.
Like I was in all the shows.
Right.
And so I didn't understand this law, but it was through the MVA where boats are done through the DNR as far as registering goes. So with dealing with the MVA and stuff like that, it was like, yeah, we do not allow any out-of-state dealers into the state of Maryland. The dealers that are here only have 2 shows that they can do. Those 2 shows were already filled with Timonium because Timonium Fairgrounds was already doing 2 shows.
Gotcha.
For those dealers.
Now, is that something to do with like driving the trailers here with tags? Like transporting them here?
Well, all the dealers have dealer transport tags.
Yeah.
I mean, even me as a marina, I had my own transport tags where I could transport as many boats as I wanted to, depending on how many tags I had.
Gotcha.
They have the same thing basically, because that's all, you know what I mean? And that was one of my next questions was to the MVA is like, I did boat shows. I see boat shows happening even in the state of Maryland with out of state dealers coming into the state of Maryland. If you're telling me it's an MVA law and there's nothing with a tag or wheels that can be displayed, you can't even display in the state of Maryland. So I was like, well, you have boats in a boat show that are on trailers from out of state. Are you telling me that's allowed? Well, a boat, their home is not on a trailer. Their home is in the water, is how they put it to me. So yes, they're allowed to. I was like, okay, so there's an exception here. And it went round and round for a while. So we were kind of a little discouraged at first. And then the NVA people were like, look, we'll turn our head to the amount of shows that the Maryland dealers are doing. But if someone steps up and complains or gripes, you'll probably get hit with a fine. I was willing to take the chance because that's just who I am. I'll take the chance. Mm-hmm. So, all right, we're off and running, but we can only have Maryland dealers here. Well, as you know, here in Maryland, all of our RV dealers are right across the border, not even 15 minutes from here in Delaware.
Yeah.
All the Maryland dealers, the closest dealer was 60 miles, which is the one dealer that's on Kent Island. The rest of them were all 120-some miles away from here as far as an RV dealer goes.
Yeah, so they're not going to haul a bunch of RVs here just for a show.
Well, we were able to get, our first year, we were able to get 3 dealers here.
No kidding.
Now, I found an exception in the Maryland MVA law that says manufacturers themselves are allowed to come into the state and display.
Ah, that's pretty cool.
So we started reaching out to manufacturers, and we did get a bunch of van manufacturers that were, because this whole new, since COVID, this whole new van movement thing and the RV movement opened up a lot of doors.
Yeah, like the Mercedes and the Sprinters, and that's cool. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. That's roped in there too.
Yeah, so those companies are all small though.
Uh-huh.
They don't have a dealer network. So by us allowing the manufacturers to come in here, now that's opened the door for them to come to a show.
Mm-hmm.
So we started that way with the first year. During this process, we had met a guy that does other stuff, promotions here in Ocean City. He said, you need to go talk to your senator. I don't know anything about politics. I've never dealt with politics. That scared the shit out of me. I was like, to be honest with you, I didn't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, seems a little more real now.
Yeah. So now it's like, all right. So my wife is a little bit more open than I am. Like, I'm a quiet person normally. She reached out and had a conversation with our senator, which is Mary Beth Carrozza.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wayne Hartman, our delegate, also got involved in this now. So both of these people got involved and said, yes, we will help you. We will do what it takes.
That's cool.
And so the first year, we're on our 4th year now. So the first year of our show, we had to go before the Senate and go before the House up in Annapolis and speak our case.
Damn.
Now, during this, again, I have problems speaking in public. I don't do this. This is even still new for me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's because there's no crowd right here. So, and now that I've done it with the Senate over 4 years now and things like that, speaking in front of people, I've gotten used to it now. So it's just a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
But so we went before the House and the Senate the first year, and immediately it came back from everybody was sitting around tables. It's like, are you meaning to tell us that our own Maryland dealers are being restricted in sales? Like, they can't do any other shows? Like, even so, this law from out of state never, you know what I mean? Like, that was still there, but they were still dumbfounded even on the fact that the Maryland dealers aren't allowed to participate in any more shows.
Seems crazy.
Yeah, it was way crazy. And then as I explained to them in my speeches, like, here you got Maryland dealers, but there's and they sell this and this product. But there's also 46 other manufacturers that aren't even represented by a Maryland dealer, period. So you're not taking away from Maryland sales.
Right.
You're also not taking away from Maryland taxes. Because if there's a Maryland resident that's still even buying, it's just like a car.
Yeah, you gotta
if you're buying out of state, Maryland's not losing no taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland is still collecting their money, still getting their revenue, still getting everything. But you got a customer in Maryland that doesn't want that product. They want an Airstream, for instance. Mm-hmm. Airstream's not sold in the state of Maryland at all.
Wow.
Believe it or not, here's the biggest and most well-known RV manufacturer, and it can't come to our show.
That's crazy.
You know, and that's what usually everybody wants to come see, whether they want an RV or not. Oh yeah, let's go look at the new Airstreams. It's just a icon. So it took them a while, and then going through this, so we had an oppose against us. You know, there's an RV Dealers Association of Maryland.
And they opposed it?
Well, they opposed it.
Seems like
here's the thing: is the guy that at the time was the president of the organization owned a dealership here in Maryland. He also owned both of the Timonium shows, so he had a lockdown.
Okay,
you know what I mean. And here we are. We would be major and direct competition for these two shows. But we're also not trying to compete, as I've told them, all the Maryland dealers. Like after the first year of this, I actually went up and had a meeting at the Timonium Boat Show, or at the Timonium RV Show, before the show opened one day there. I went up and sat down with all the dealers in an RV at that show before the doors opened and had a big meeting with them all. And this was after our first year. So we've already proven ourselves at the first year that we were capable of doing a show. Our first year we had 7,500 people.
No kidding.
That came through the door for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That was our first year. So when I had that meeting with them and trying to explain to them, like, look, I'm not trying to hurt the Maryland dealers. I'm actually trying to help the Maryland dealers. If you're coming to our show, all I'm trying to do is bring more people that are interested in RVs through the door. You guys sell this, half a dozen product, maybe a dozen products between these Maryland dealers. Even if it is a dozen product, there's still all this other product out here that people are interested in coming to, that now they're going out of state to out of state shows. Why not still keep? And then we have so now this is opening up opportunities even for the Maryland dealers with out of state people coming in to buy. It's just now the Maryland dealers have to register and pay the taxes to the other out of states. So it's not really hurting anybody.
Right. It seems like it's overall net positive. It seems silly.
You're bringing more people. You're bringing more potential buyers through the door by having more dealers, more product. It's all about having more dealers and more product. You know, because when people come to a show, they already have in their mind what they're there to look at. They're there to look at 4 or 5 particular models that they've narrowed it down to what they want to see. Mm-hmm. And if that Maryland dealer wasn't selling it, then they're going to come to the Maryland show. But now they're also not going to buy at the Maryland show. They're going to go to an out-of-state show and then look at that product out there and then make their decision. Sometimes that decision never comes back. You know what I mean? It's like, since I used to do boat shows all the time, this is where this whole mentality came from. It's like, when you get somebody that comes in the door and they're on your boat, you need to make that sale now. Let's get the contract. Even when a person's at a boat show, it's like, I don't know if you've ever bought anything at a show or anything like that. But when you go to a show and you're looking for something, you finally find it, and they're going to give you a good deal. You're going to do this and that, and you sign that contract, that person is now off the market. You know what I mean? Like internally in their mind, and they're done.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to drink beer, and now I'm going to go find fishing rods, and I'm going to buy all the stuff that I need to buy at the show for my boat that I just bought. Mm-hmm. So now they're not thinking about any other product. And if that person is at a show to look at 6 different items, and all 6 of those items are there, and they make their decision off of a dealer doing their job of selling a customer, because everything's here in one roof.
Right.
It's about making that sale. Let's make the sale now, because if you don't, that you're giving that person a second chance to think about it.
And go somewhere else.
It's either that or maybe not this year. We'll do it next year. You just lost It's all about sales when you're in that market. And I was for a long time with boats. I mean, I was the 6th largest dealer in the country for Scout boats.
Really?
And I was the 7th largest dealer in the world for Monterey boats.
Wow.
And my marina wasn't very big, but all my sales were made at boat shows.
Wow.
It was nothing for me to sell and do 100 contracts at the Baltimore Boat Show. And that was like that for years. Mm-hmm. And even the DC Boat Show and Chantilly Boat Show. So I was doing a lot of turnover at boat shows, because where my marina was, I wasn't on the roadside like a lot of these RV dealers. I was 20 minutes from the closest highway. So if you were coming to me, you were driving a half hour out of your way to come to my dealership. So that's not where my sales were.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you guys were able to get the RV show up and off the ground.
If it wasn't for Mary Beth Carrozza and Wayne Hartman and even our mayor, down here with helping us. Yeah. It was a lot of support from them. I mean, even the surrounding county senators and delegates all stood up for us
Nice.
and helped make this happen.
That's pretty cool.
So when we passed the law finally this past year, so this past year's show was the first year that we were allowed to have out of state in. So it was a big learning curve even for the MVA.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to work with the MVA hand in hand on everything.
Wow.
With that being said, I don't even know where I was going with that story now.
You got the first year was last year with the
With the law change.
yeah, with the law change.
Yeah, so that's kind of helped out a lot, and it's I think it's going to help for. And what I did for the Maryland dealers is I told all the Maryland dealers is like, whatever you guys sell, I'm not going to bring in from out of state. You know, even if that dealer out of state sells your product, but they sell other product too, they're not going to be allowed to come in with what you sell. As long as you're bringing it to our show to display,
Gotcha.
that stuff is protected.
That's cool. Well, at least it's kind of cool that you're doing that to support Maryland and their sales tax and all their stuff. I mean, I guess in the grand scheme they still get it, but that's cool. It's giving your home state the priority.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah,
our economy, you know.
Right.
So,
I know what I was saying. So going back to the law change, our law change, we tried to change it in the beginning for the whole state. That didn't fly.
So they could do it by the county or something?
Yes. So that's this past year. That's what we did is we went back because once you get last year, let's put it this way. So last year, we got it passed. Like it passed unanimously through the House and through the Senate. We're done. So last year during our show, I started selling to out-of-state dealers to come into the state. What was it, like June? So we're now getting pretty close to our show. Like by June, you know, our show's in October. By June, we're already filling the convention center up with all that stuff. Well, the governor decided to veto our law.
Are you serious?
At the last minute. He vetoed it. And what happened is he was fed some, not necessarily some misinformation, but not correct information. So I literally had to work with the governor's office directly and correct them with what we were trying to do. So what I was trying to do was match up to what other states are doing around us. And it's a share thing. So what that does is it allows, let's just say if there is a dealership in Worcester County here, that dealer now is whatever states that I'm saying is allowed to come in, like Delaware, Pennsylvania, or wherever, or West Virginia. Now, New Jersey is not part of this, so they don't have this law in effect. It's a share state thing. So if I'm allowing them to come into our county, that's going to allow anybody from our county now as a dealer to go into that state to display. So now it's opening up other avenues. Because Maryland right now, these dealers are not allowed to go out of state unless they have a place out of state to go into those shows. That's how it works. We're not a share state.
Wow.
When it comes to those kind of sales.
Who would have thought that it's this technical to have a freaking show where people can go and look at different models of different stuff and find different awnings and different products and stuff?
Yeah. It's been an ongoing fight for 4 years with this back and forth. And again, if it wasn't for Mary Beth Carrozza, Wayne Hartman, and our mayor helping with all this, it wouldn't have been possible. But I've learned way more about politics than I've ever wanted to know.
I imagine. That's crazy. Why overcomplicate it? It's just like, dang, we want to have a couple RVs. I mean, I know it's a big show, but dang, who would have thought that it's that complicated?
Well, we're trying to expand on it now. I think some of the Maryland dealers, like we just went to the Timonium show to go up and hang out with the dealers that do support us here in Ocean City. And we support the Timonium show. Like I've always told all the Maryland dealers, we're not trying to do what Timonium's doing. Timonium is all about RV sales. When you go to Timonium, there's nothing else there. Those RVs are crammed in there. They got everything off of their floor that's in their dealership is in Timonium. Like it's jam-packed inside of all 4 of those buildings. We're trying to do it a little bit different. We're trying to bring that outdoor experience on why you do go RVing also to our show. So it doesn't have just RVs there. We've got motorcycles there, off-road stuff there. We have e-bikes there. We've got kayaks. We've got boats. We've got fishing stuff this year. We're actually going to be adding a fishing tournament, beach surf tournament to our show this year.
Really?
We already have a skateboard competition that happens inside the convention center on Sunday for all the locals. That's open to all the local kids to participate in to get awards that we sponsor. We give them awards for the skate competition.
That's cool.
And then on our show starts on a Thursday, so Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Because my background is in bicycles, we've added a freestyle thing that happens.
Oh, nice.
So we have freestyle bikes that are back there with the half pipe ramps and the quarter pipe ramps and all that kind of stuff that are back there doing inside the convention center. That does a big demonstration during our show that's there.
Well, I mean, bikes go with RVing.
Yep, that's why we're bringing all that experience. So
that's awesome.
Because we realize now that Ocean City is not just a vacation town anymore. You know, I can remember, 8 years ago, Ocean City during the winter months, they turn off all the street lights. There's no hotels open. There was no restaurants open. Like, that whole place was like tumbleweeds.
Yeah, tumbleweeds, yeah.
Like nothing downtown. Now it's like all the restaurants are open, except for the small hotels, the mom and pop hotel. Everything else is open. And it's because more and more people, since COVID, again, this town is like everybody's moving to this town. Which now we have people from this town that want to go other places to vacation. So even our RV dealers that did come here from Maryland said that this is a completely untapped territory for RV sales.
Oh, yeah.
They all know it. They all realize it, to the point where one of our dealers has just purchased property in Salisbury.
No kidding.
To put an RV dealership here because of our show.
That's awesome.
The RV shop that's up in Delaware, all the way up near Newark, they just put a second location in down just across the line. It's still in Delaware, but they're right here because of what the RV show is doing for them. So that's awesome. It's making us feel like this whole RV show, the thing now, is bringing economic, growth to this community.
For sure. That's awesome.
Along with the locals now that do live here, want to go vacation other places, but don't understand that, everybody here knows about boats.
Yeah.
But there's other ways of vacation.
For sure.
And we're trying to bring the kids to our show so that now the parents see, okay, this is something that's affordable, something we can do.
And it's active. You're outside.
Yeah.
It's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love just going through and I love campers in general because they're so good at storing and little compartments and different tricks and pull out stairs. It gives me ideas for other things. Like I might want that on my race car trailer or it's back of my Jeep for my camp stove. It's like, I don't know, all that stuff is really cool. And even the overlanding stuff, you said you partnered with the Jeep guy.
Yeah.
That goes kind of hand in hand too, because people are doing rooftop tents and those big surrounds with annexes and stuff. And it's like, there's more than one way to do it.
Yeah.
So,
that's going to be a whole new addition to our RV show this year too, is bringing that overlanding that we haven't had in the past to our show now too.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. So you are going to get into more of that, like the outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
That's super cool, dude.
I think more and more people are realizing what we're trying to do here. The first 2 years it was like, okay, they're kind of watching us. Now, this past year, we've got a lot of local support that's kind of actually stepping up to figure out how they can help us and what they can do. Like Castle on the Sand, the hotel across the street. Normally, they close down a month before our show starts. This year, they came into our show, their general manager, and was like, we're going to stay open through your show, and how can we become part of your show?
Cool.
Because their parking lot's right across the street.
That's awesome.
Well, we're almost at the point now where the whole inside the convention center is completely sold out. Half of the front parking lot was sold out this past year with all RVs.
So
we already know it's going to fill up. We were already starting to think about expansions on how we can add to the footprint, which Jolly Rogers has talked to us. I mean, they got a whole parking lot behind that place that's massive. That somehow we're going to start trying to figure out about adding that as part of the footprint of our show, and then using the city transportation.
Dang, that's cool.
For free to be able to transport people around to the different locations for what's going to be. And that's why I don't think it's going to happen this year, but as we keep growing, it's going to get there.
That's awesome, man.
Especially with the way the community wants to help us. Now, even all the campgrounds, they're like, we need to be a part of. We will next year will run our bus services that we normally use for busing our camper people to the beach and back. We're now going to use our buses to transport them back and forth to your show.
That's awesome.
From the campgrounds.
Damn right, dude. That's awesome when the community comes together. And that's what I was, when we got to talking about the RV show and stuff, I'm like, everything kind of goes hand in hand when you start to put it together. If everyone's willing to work with one another, everyone benefits from it.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's networking or just the podcast or getting it out there or the campgrounds using their equipment they already have to help shuttle people. I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And you're bringing growth to not only like to the community in our local economy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's
Plus,
net
we
positive.
open up on Fridays, the last 2 hours of our show for free for any kids coming in costume for the locals.
Oh, cool.
So now the parents can bring their kids into the RV show, trick or treat through all the RVs. There now all the dealers have gotten involved.
That's
now they're
awesome.
doing all their decorations and doing dress up and doing candy from RV to RV that's in the show.
That's cool, man.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you said you're gonna do the like a vintage or a BMX or bicycle museum type show type.
Yeah, that's something else I think we're gonna add this year is doing like a museum. Because this past year we added the car show, which is all old cars. We got Brad with the Bronco Beach Bash, so they're already doing the sand course on the beach during our show. Also, that's part of our footprint now.
Cool.
So everything he's doing, and then what we're doing with the BMX and the skating competitions, now adding the surfing contests to it. I want to add that BMX museum to it.
I can't wait to go just walk around and check stuff out.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was like getting ideas, and then all the cars, bikes. It's like, heck, I might even just throw out some business cards somewhere. So,
right.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it when the community works together and it's all net positive. But it seems like a bunch of red tape you had to go through to get to this point. Holy cow!
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
It's worth it overall, though.
And we almost threw the rag in a couple times. You know what I mean? But with having that support behind us, like Mary Beth and Wayne and all of them saying, no, you can't give up. Like, we're here supporting you. You need to keep following through. And, yeah. That's even awesome. To this day, I still get phone calls from Wayne all the time about advice on, how to keep moving forward, keep doing what we're doing. So now knowing politics, it's kind of actually nice.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's involved. We are in the 4-H group. It's not anything too big as far as like political stuff, but I see him a lot. He's constantly showing up to like the meetings and award ceremonies and things like that. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, they're very heavily into the community. Both him and Mary Beth.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I see him all the time.
Yep.
That's awesome, man. Well, I hope it grows, and hopefully, maybe as it gets closer, and maybe we'll do like a quick recap or something, or try to promote it to get it out there even bigger. I don't know, but you heard it first. They're going to do it again this year. What you said, it's in October?
Yep. It's a Halloween weekend.
Nice.
Yep.
It'll be a good time.
So, yeah.
Cool.
So,
yeah, I look forward to it, man. I can't wait to go.
Yep.
That's awesome, dude. Well, it sounds like you've had quite the career, man.
Always, I guess when you do have an artistic mind, I guess you're always bouncing around with different ideas. I mean, I got 1,000 ideas in my head still. You know what I mean? It's just
what do you say?
How
yes
much
to?
do you want to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. It's like, what do you say yes to? Like, you're as busy as you want to, not as busy as you want to be. I'm like you a lot, where I could be busier, but it's like, it's the things that I say yes to that I either believe in or I want to be a part of or something. Because if not, you can be busy but spinning your wheels.
Right.
And I'm trying to find that delicate line personally.
Right.
And I imagine that you've dealt with that too.
Yeah.
That's nice. So throughout your career, did you ever work for somebody like? Or it seems like you've been an entrepreneur your whole life.
Pretty much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a freaking fulfilling freedom that you've had.
Right. Like I did work for another marina for a little while. So after I got hurt real bad, I went back to school. And my choice was either I was actually offered a job by Kawasaki to be a mechanic.
No kidding.
For a pro rider. And I was like, there is no way I could be around motorcycles without riding, because at that time I was told I could never ride a motorcycle again.
This is after your wrist?
After my knees and my ankles and my wrists and all that stuff. They said if you hurt your leg one more time, you're going to end up with a straight leg. Like, you're not going to be able to use your knee no more. You're not going to be able to do anything. So I was done. So I had to figure out what I was going to do, and I went back to school. Well, the school I went to was you could either pick a motorcycle path or a marine path.
Okay.
And I was big into two-strokes. So I was going to do the motorcycle, but then I realized there is no way I could be around bikes without getting on another motorcycle. If they're telling me my career's done, I can't ride a bike ever again. So I decided to go into the marine side of things because it was two-stroke at that time. Also, there was no four strokes, back in the early 90s when I did this. So I chose outboards. And I did first I started with jet skis, and then I realized jet skis wasn't enough. So then I went through outboards, then I went through diesel. Like I took all the marine programs because I wasn't sure exactly. But before I even graduated, there was a marina up here that had found out that I was down there and had offered me a job before I even graduated. So I took that job.
Gotcha.
So when I got out, I went to work there. I worked there for 4 years. Luckily, they had another mechanic there, and I had no field experience. Like I had, the training in school, but I didn't have no actual field experience.
It's a lot different.
Yes, it's completely different. So when I went to work for the marina, thank God they had a mechanic there that was really, really good and really patient and really loud about how to do things and what to do, Mm-hmm. So he was my mentor, and he was actually awesome. I got along with him great. So I was there for 4 years, and then the marina down the street from that place went up for sale, and I decided I'm probably not going to get another opportunity, so I'm going to take it, and I ended up buying it.
Damn, that's cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And thank God those people were nice too, so they gave me a lease with an option, and that option was 4 years. So at the end of that 4 years with the lease there,
cool.
I took the option.
Damn right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Man, that's quite a career, man. It looks. I mean, it's nice. I feel like your skills too, like those mechanic skills and things, go into like your everyday life too.
Oh yeah.
Like being around your camper and like being around your home, like you're like, well, PEX pipe isn't nothing. I can fix that. It's
Right.
like being mechanical is like it's a blessing. It was a blessing and a curse,
right?
But it's more of a blessing, I would think.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
We're a lot alike in that way. So
yeah,
that's awesome, man.
I was saving in construction in our last house. I did a lot of custom stuff in a house nobody had ever seen before.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I remember that thing you brought me to clear coat. You had like custom welded, or it was like a window or something for your door.
That was from my grandfather. So he was a ship welder at Bethlehem Steel when that was around back in the day up in Baltimore. So that was a portal window.
Yeah.
Out of a ship. The
That's
glass in it was like 3 inches thick. It was something ridiculous.
That was cool.
It weighed a ton.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the sealing ring. And your other buddy, from the
metal shop,
he
TIG welded that sucker on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did a nice job with that.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. So they made the matting part for that, and then I brought it to you because I liked the weld so much of what he did. I wanted it clear powder coated because it looked so cool.
Dude, that looked really good. So did it end up going on a door?
It went in a door in that house.
That's
and then
awesome.
when we got rid of the house, I took the door.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Okay, so you've actually
that door is going to go into our new house that we're building over in Chrisfield now.
Okay. Dang, man. You're on the move.
Yeah.
That wasn't even that long ago. You don't mess around. Always busy. That's awesome, man. Yeah. Oh, man.
Yep.
That's crazy. I think that the artistic side of stuff, like it wasn't until I started messing around in here and I was like, I see like interior decorating. I'm not good at it, but like I can see where it's definitely cool, Like you're in, well, I'm not in here all the time, but it gives you a cool feel, or if you live there at your house.
Yeah.
It's definitely cool. Or you see something that like your grandfather's like a memory. You're like, every time you look at it, you're like, yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Piece of history.
Yeah.
Super cool, man.
It's like I think my wife's got a lot of good ideas too. So some of the stuff I'll use from her, like when we were building the TV in the living room in that wall. So I had a wall that was specially made for our TV, which what was this, like 6 years ago? So back then, to buy a 90-inch TV, they were hard to find. But I found one. I was like, I'm buying as big as I can. I want to put a massive TV on this wall, but I don't want the TV hanging off the wall. So what I did is I built a fake wall, and I custom built it so that the TV, so it was just the screen was the perfect size of the wall. And then I matte painted the wall in black. So when the TV wasn't on, you didn't see the TV. It was perfectly flat. And then when you turn the TV on, it was like flush with the wall.
That's nuts.
And then off the one side, when I was building it, there was like some wasted space. And my wife was like, because up above that, there was a mezzanine area that went up, like a display shelf area up top.
Okay.
she was like, well, she was asking me how I was going to get up there to put stuff in the attic because behind that was another wall for an attic. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to put a ladder up against the wall. She's like, well, you got this space right here. Why don't you build a ladder into the wall? So I ended up building a ladder into the wall on that side. So that was all custom done. And then
Cool.
it was perfect for like a bookshelf almost. So the ladder rungs, when we weren't using it, just held books.
That's killer. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You probably was it like an old rustic like looking ladder too?
Yeah.
Like it kind of
Yep,
fit
yep,
the bill.
yeah.
That's awesome. I love that stuff, dude.
Yep.
That's why I like seeing. I like going to different places too because I get so many ideas. They're like looking at something that you might do or the RVs and stuff, and I'm like, I can apply that to some other little thing in here or at my house or something. It's like I don't know. We're probably all like that. We take all the ideas and
Right.
That's how.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, even our shower in that house, it was, or our bathroom, I should say. So the shower alone was 8x8. So I couldn't find a shower pan big enough. I couldn't find, you know what I mean? It's like, because the bathroom ended up being the way the house was designed. It was going to be big. So I was like, I didn't really want to waste the space. And I like almost like a spa type. So what we did is we put in a glass wall. And the actual shower area ended up being 8x8. So it was like, how do I figure this space out? So I ended up making my own floor plan shower pan out of concrete.
Really?
Yeah, so I tapered everything in, did the epoxy pour on the floor. I did one of those long, what do they call them, drains? I forget what they call vessel type drains.
I know what you're talking about.
And then we did the all overhead, so it was one big shower, like a rain shower in it. And it had the showers coming out of the wall. And then in the back part of it, I put a clawfoot tub just sitting inside the shower.
Really?
Yeah. And instead of draining or anything, I clogged off the overflow drain in the tub. I backplated it, so you could literally fill the tub up, let it overflow because it didn't matter. And so literally, you could get in the tub and fill it all the way up and
That's
just sit.
awesome.
Because me for racing, I was like, I like to soak sometimes to keep my knees good and stuff. So I use the tub a lot.
That's awesome.
So that's why I did it. And it was one of those real deep ones. Like I could sit in it up to here.
Oh yeah, that's freaking rad.
And we didn't hook no drains up to it or nothing. So when you pulled the drain out of the bottom of the tub, it just drained into the shower pan and went down the drain in the shower pan.
That's awesome.
But all the faucets came out of the wall.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of custom stuff we did in that house. So now we're going to apply a lot of that stuff in the new house that we're getting ready to do.
I love that because then it can get even better.
Yeah.
Like you're like, we liked this, but some things you didn't like. And now we can make it even better. Or like different controls or a different bath. I love that. It always evolves. I love that. Yeah.
Yep.
That's why I have so many rock crawlers because I get so many ideas and then I guess got to
build another one. Yep.
Yeah. I'm kidding. Yeah, man. That's awesome, dude. Well, hey, we've been around here about 2 hours, man. So
cool.
That's what it shows. So we'll get ready to wrap it up. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Anything else you want to ask me?
No. I mean, I had a list of questions, but I think it was more towards like the Hutches and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Anything I remember.
Do you have any interest in like building bikes again at some point?
Actually, it's funny. My son is a engineer. He went to Virginia Tech, so he's got his degree in engineering, and he now designs for big commercial buildings all the sprinkler heads, new designs on that, and a lot of the fuel truck valves, like redesigning all these new fuel trucks. So I know he's flying back and forth from Texas a lot with whatever he's doing with this whole design thing. He asked me actually just this past year, what would it take to start Hutch back up again within our name? And I told him I would research it, and it's a possibility. I never know where that's going to lead, but I would definitely love to see my son maybe possibly start it back up. I don't know.
That'd be badass, dude.
So I'm willing to help. I told him, I said, whatever we need to do, figure it out, you know. So we'll see where that goes.
That's cool.
But
I just did see, I don't know, it's a movie back in the either mid 80s or early 90s called like Ford. It's a BMX bike movie, like Ford.
Rad?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I saw that like it's coming up on 40 years old.
Yeah, probably.
They're getting ready to have their anniversary.
Yeah.
and it's becoming a popular thing. And like all these
It's
guys,
a big icon.
your age, my age, well, maybe a little even older than me, they're like reliving their pastime with their kids. So I can see like it could be like a big boom for the bike scene again.
Oh yeah,
That'd be killer. Rebirth it.
A lot of it is now because a lot of people don't know Hutch now. If you're born after a certain date, these kids nowadays don't know about Hutch at all, unless it's their parents. You know what I mean? A lot of it has to do with their parents' heydays and still having stuff or now reliving it, and their kids are finding out about it and now starting to learn. A lot of kids will do their own research, and once something's brought to their attention.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So now a lot of these kids are all doing so you start to hear. I mean, I actually, even on Facebook, I mean, it's every week I get 20, 30 messages from Messenger, on Facebook, asking if I'm from Hutch, all that kind of stuff, and then have questions, and they send me pictures of their bikes and questions about their bike,
That's so badass.
Some of them I can't answer, you know what I mean? Like even I don't remember, but I'll send them to the people I do know that know more about the Hutch bikes than I ever do, you know? So...
it's so badass. I'm so glad that you told me that one day, because you could have just kept it to yourself and never even mentioned it. I never would have known, because it wasn't like you brought a bike in here for me to do.
Right.
You know what I mean, it was a boat part or something.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome. But I'm super thankful of the inadvertent education I've gotten just in a lot of other areas too, about other parts or manufactured stuff. But the bicycle thing, I'm really, really grateful that I got to experience it and know the impact that it has on the person that's bringing it in, and how much it means. And it's like it's more than I could have ever imagined. It's not like a regular bike. It's a pastime. It's a memory. It's a lot to a lot of people. So
some of the stories I hear is crazy about how bikes helped them or
got them
was
through
a big
something.
part of a big part of their life back then. I mean, even just as far as I was just at the boat show, walking down the aisle at the boat show, minding my own business with my wife, and I hear somebody from all the way down the aisle recognized me, didn't know I was Hutch, and is now screaming at the top of his lungs, like literally about tackled me in the aisle.
That's a cool feeling,
and then,
though, right?
You spend an hour with them, then now stand there talking to them about their childhood and their bikes, and it's all cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope that at some point you guys bring him back, man. Maybe we do a collab or something.
I don't even know if we can at this point, since it's owned by someone else. I mean, I know I did. I had another friend of mine that had talked to me about buying the company back and asked me if I would go in partners with him. And this was like maybe 10 years ago, which was right after I sold the marina, actually. So I had, some money if I was going to. And I even told him, I was like, look, I'm interested. I said, but I don't know how well that would go over to whoever owns it now, that if they knew. I was kind of afraid that like that would hurt, because he was more interested in it than I was. Like, I would have probably been a silent partner.
Still cool though to bring it back and have that last name attached to it,
Yeah. So I was like, you might want to keep my name out of it while you're trying to purchase it or do whatever. I said, but yeah, I'm interested in, and he followed suit with it. And he's pretty famous himself, what I mean, that wanted to do it, but I guess nothing turned from it. But and he's famous from the motocross side of things.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
And he was looking for something to invest in also, and wanted to run and do whatever.
Damn. Hopefully,
so,
we'll see. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool that it's a born and raised Maryland company. I think that's awesome. And the bicycle shop here, I've done. But Mike. He's into them.
He's got quite a few of our bikes over there on display,
sitting on the shelf. Yeah, I powder coated a bunch of them. I actually did this one. I don't know if it was ever a color or not, but he asked me. He said, "Can you splatter powder on there?" And I was like, "No," but I said, "I'll tell you what. I got this product recently at this show I went to, and I'll try it. It ended up being like a water carrier for powder coating, so you can mix it up. Like you could take it's like a chemical reaction type thing where you got to like be scientific and mix certain parts this, certain parts that. But essentially, it turns it into a liquid based material, and I was able to splatter on there over the base coat, with my fingers and some gloves, and let it dry, and then bake it, and then clear it, and if you haven't seen it yet, pop in
I
there.
haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's super.
Was he
cool.
trying to do? I don't know if you know what our futuristic black looked like. But was it? Is that what he was trying to duplicate?
I don't know. It was white with like a splash, like green and like a light, like a Tiffany green type color. With a I want to say blue, and maybe even pink. I can't remember, but like that splash, like the like the I don't know. I guess maybe early '90s or late '80s type. I don't know. I don't really know what it's for, but it looked really nice.
That wasn't one of our colors then. I just thought maybe he was trying to do the future. So our futuristic black was like what you see lawn furniture painted. That crinkle finish, that blackened with a little hint of silver in it.
Mm-hmm. That's
pretty
cool.
We did that.
Like an artery silver.
Yeah.
They call it. Yeah. It's like mostly black, but it's got like silver pits in it.
It was, yeah.
I love that.
And that, just so everybody knows, that particular color was done on any of our frames that were blemished.
Oh, really?
So any of our frames that weren't leading up to the standards to go into a solid color or be chrome plated. So our chrome plated frames were absolutely perfect. Then we had our next frames that were, you know what I mean, they were still good enough that you couldn't see the blemishes. So then they were done in like the lavenders and the pinks, and then some more of the solid colors. And then we had the candy colors, which they had to be perfect also, just like the chrome frames. You couldn't have no blemishes or it would show up under the paint.
Did they powder coat over the chrome?
They powder coated over a nickel.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't chrome. That's what the candies were done with. And then the futuristic was all the frames that had a lot of blemishes or weren't quality. Like they were going to be cut up and thrown away or whatever, because we couldn't throw away whole stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy. Dude, people cringe just knowing that you guys cut them up and recycle them.
It's funny. If they had cameras like they do nowadays, that we could have put cameras on our dumpster at Hutch every night, the stuff you'd have probably saw. I had no idea.
Maybe there's some stuff out there that was destined for the dumpster that some young kid got or something,
Oh, we've had that happen before too, where we've had frames come in under warranty or something like that, and then in the beginning we weren't cutting them up, we were just throwing them away, and then people were getting them out of the dumpster, and then trying to turn them back in again.
Re-warranty them
re-warranty them. So we caught on to that real fast.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've thought about it. Not that I would ever do it, but I think that it's cool. It goes hand in hand with like my fab stuff, and I'm looking at how simple some of the frames are, and I'm like,
dude, some of the stuff you do is incredible.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Well, who knows?
You could easily build a design of Blake. I can tell you that with some of the stuff I've seen you do here.
I've considered it. I really have. I don't know. I'm not much of an engineer or like the geometry stuff, but I'm pretty good at figuring stuff out. And then once I do it, like yesterday, I took my Jeep truck for a drive for the first time. And it wasn't until I got home, because my adrenaline's pumping, I'm like, this thing's a menace for the streets. It's loud, it's fast, it's everything.
It sounds awesome.
Oh, thanks. I'm so pumped it's a driver. Dude, I was like, the 4-link works perfect. Like, I actually put it through this whole calculating design and like did this whole 4-link design, and I plugged in a ton of numbers to get what's called 100% anti-squat.
Right.
So it shouldn't lift and it shouldn't squat on acceleration.
Right.
And I got home and I was chilling, and I'm like, it worked absolutely perfect. So maybe, who knows?
Cool.
Maybe a jig and some chromoly tube or some aluminum. Who knows? I don't know.
It's not hard.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe we'll just do a collab or something.
Some of our frame jigs were pretty primitive. You know what I mean? Like it
I
wasn't much to them.
Yeah, I also build this thing up in my head too, where like that's what's cool to me is it's tangible. Like, so you're here. Like the son of the founder, where in my head I'm picturing like on, like they're unobtainable to get to, or like, does that make sense? Like, I don't know if unobtainable is the word, but it's like I build it up like where it doesn't seem like it's possible.
Right.
But at the same time, like some of the stuff I'm already doing is very easily done. So there's nothing.
They always say it's easy to psych yourself out when you don't have something in front of you, or you're not working with it yet, but to actually picture it and do it in your head first. It's like, oh yeah, I can do it in my head, but then it's like, where do you start? That's always the hard part, is getting through that
okay, I have it in my head. I know what I'm going to do. But then when you try to do it, it's like, I know I still do this to this day whenever I'm trying to design something or redo something or even anything. It's like, I know it looks like in my head. It's like, and then when you want to start to work on it, you don't know where to start. So if whatever I'm working on has got maybe 5 or 6 different ways of doing it, I will literally bring in all the materials that's in my head, whether I'm going to use it or not. I'll bring all those materials in. Like, it's like sitting in front of me now. Once everything's sitting in front of me, then it's almost like I can kind of, and I think you're the same way because I've seen what you do out here, and it would probably almost be the same thing. It's like, once it's in front of you, and then you actually start putting your hands on it, and it's like, okay, then it's just a matter of cut here, cut there.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am. Yeah, I kind of let my hands just start to do it. I was actually on here, and I was talking to a girl that was talking about doing that pour over stuff you're talking about on canvases, and it wasn't until she said, "Yeah, I just like let myself be like immersed in it," and I'm like, "Oh, that's what I do in the shop when the door closes." That's why when somebody's over, I don't really work on something because I don't like a connection with it.
I do it all the time when I get to my shop. That's why I like where my shop is. It's in the middle of nowhere right now.
Nobody can stop.
Yeah, I can just close my doors and it's like, okay, it's focus time. Like even my wife will tell you, it's like I just, because inside my building too, there's no cell service or nothing in that building I'm in. So it's like, yeah, once I go in there,
off to the world.
Yep.
Just focus and No, I'm right there with you, man. I do find a starting point, and then I just like scratch at it, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Next thing you know, it's almost done.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited to see your work on the top. That's gonna be killer.
Yeah.
So for those that are listening, he's taking my Jeep top that I cut crudely with a Sawzall. I probably should have done a better
No
job.
different than what I would have done.
I know.
Yeah.
I just felt so bad. I just wanted to see what it looked like, kind of
Right.
mocked up on there. And then my plan was to be able to have aluminum. But I'm glad that I connected the dots. And you're going to mold the back half back to where we sectioned the window,
Right.
and then make it all pretty and jive and put a back window in it.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm excited. It's going to put the whole vision I have in my head to one solid picture.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, man.
Cool.
Well, yeah, that's all I had, man. I'm just super thankful to get this out and have you in here to hang out. And I'm enlightened by the story of the Hutch design and the brand and all that. So
Cool.
hopefully we'll see what happens. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, the next time you have me in, because I don't talk about this stuff much either, though, but you probably might want to ask me about some of the antics that we used to get into and the trouble we used to get into while we were on the road.
Oh, I'm sure that's probably...
That's a whole another probably 2 hours.
Yeah, next time we'll crack that bottle you gave me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it gets, when we used to travel on the road with racing, it was, yeah.
I can imagine a bunch of dudes in
Like,
RV.
it's here's the funny thing is you watch these shows, Jackass and all this other stuff that goes on now. It's like, dude, if we had cameras back then, that would be nothing compared to some of the shit that we used to do.
I can only imagine.
Oh, it's, yeah.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to get you out of here, man. We'll get on with our day.
All right.
All right, brother.
Yep.
Thanks for
I appreciate
coming
it. Yeah, thank you.
in. Yeah, man.
All right.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
All right. See you guys.